All right, so good evening all, and welcome to the, we're slaves to the red light up there, so. Welcome to the Monday, January 14th, no 13th, regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. As always, we are being recorded and going out live via ECAT. I'm going to jump ahead for a second. If there's anybody here for the continued public hearings on 58 Mill Street for Owl Ridge Estates, they have requested a continuance, which we'll do later in the evening, but just in case anybody's here, I didn't want you to waste your evening. So, we have a jam-packed night, so we'll jump right in. The first thing is we have a sign review for 501 Foundry Street, ID Sign Group. Is there anybody here for that? There is not. Could we put that lovely graphic up on the big board, please?
How's that? Good enough?
Yeah, so this is it's the old Walgreens. Can we go to the elevations, please? There you go. And
Okay, so there's that. This is the old Walgreens?
ID sign?
Yes.
Come on in, young man. Just identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Jamie Fisher with ID Sign Group.
Great. Welcome. Would you like to tell us about your proposal?
Yeah, of course. All right, so our client is proposing 3 sign types, sign A, B, and C. Sign A is the Dollar Tree channel letter set on the side facade of the building. Sign number 2 is 2 monument sign faces to replace existing faces. What's existing is a divide bar that separates 2 tenant panels. It'll no longer be 2 tenants, it'll just be 1, so it'll just be 1 tenant panel. And as far as the pylon, they'll just be replacing those panels as well. All of the signs are internally illuminated, and I believe they're within the granted rights of the tenant to have as much signage space.
Well, I think the bylaws trump that, but
Oh, okay.
we'll
I
give you an A
understand.
for effort on that one.
Okay.
So let's start with the 2 easy ones, the pylon and the other panel. So are those both, are the letters raised on that, or what's the?
Nope.
You want the pylon with
So they're just light boxes?
Correct.
I'm watching him and trying to put the same thing. Mr. ID sign guy, up above, I'm trying to put the same pictures you have here on the
Okay.
screen, okay? So just keep your eye and make sure I'm talking about the right thing.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know, have you been before us before?
Say that again.
Have you been before us, before this board?
I have.
Okay,
Yep.
I thought so. So, then I would think it must have come up once or twice, that we've been over the last 2 or 3 years trying to improve the aesthetic and the quality of internally illuminated signs when we have them.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to light boxes. And as you see, I think the last 6 or 7 that have been done just on this stretch of road alone, starting with La Familia, and who was in here 2 weeks ago, but we've been able to get, forgive my lack of knowledge of language in the sign business, but for getting raised letters, basically, giving a little texture to it to increase the quality of it, the aesthetic of it. Is there a reason that can't happen on these 2 pylon signs?
Yeah, I'm sure it could. It all depends on the client's budget. However, for something in this application, you almost would not be able to tell if it were just a thin acrylic raised letter. How raised are we talking? Like, how much dimension would you like
1 or
to
2
have?
inches, and leave that up to the,
Yeah.
you can see a difference during the day, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
think of how a halo or a backlit works, when you get a little texture. And, I mean, and we don't do this to try to bust chops, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community that they enjoy, that they appreciate the efforts, and I know it seems silly, might seem minor, But especially where we seem to be looking to propose quite a bit of signage on this building, it would be nice to raise the level of quality and the aesthetic.
Okay.
Especially since this is right at the heart of the five-corner district.
Sure.
Which we're going through a massive rezoning effort. It'll be one of the biggest things coming up this spring at town meeting. So, anyway, so that's and then I'm curious as to how the really large Dollar Tree letters meet our bylaw in terms of area. So while I search the bylaw, I'll throw this out to my fellow board members, see if they have any questions. Or
I'm going to actually bring this to your attention.
So if I may, this pylon sign is currently existing. It was just once a Walgreens sign, and it's now turning to a Dollar Tree sign. So I would imagine, all else is staying consistent. So that should, kind of impact the bylaws.
so if dollar, no, so what's the height of this thing? 34.
Not to scale. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's just under the 100. Okay, so it is under the 100. At least they're channel letters in this case. You can't do that.
So the channel letters is 85.94 square feet, whereas the pylon sign is 52 square feet and the monument sign is 49 square feet.
six.
85.6, all right. So, I guess I didn't understand what you were saying on the two pylons. Is it feasible to go with raised letters on those? I understand Walgreens had a cheaper one, but like I say, we're trying to up the aesthetic and not put it the cheapest sign possible.
I could try and inspire my client to up the aesthetic.
Okay, we would appreciate.
Yeah,
But
but
be-
it's really their brand. You can search Dollar Tree and look at images. Every single image is channel letters. I mean, I haven't even found one.
On the pylon faces though?
Well, I haven't searched Dollar Tree pylon sign yet, but I was about to.
Being a national brand, they may have
I
standards.
found one in
that-
Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's yeah, so we prefer the channel letters. That's what I'm saying, and I feel Greg might have said also.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the
Yeah.
they can go with the raised letter. It
Oh,
doesn't have
raised,
to
yeah,
be,
raised, yeah,
because
no,
it's an
not
existing
channel,
sign,
right,
but
right, yeah.
similar to what was just done on it's La Familia, right? Yeah. And you can see it during the day. It makes a big difference, at least to those of us who are interested in the aesthetic. And we're firm believers that the improved aesthetic shows attention to detail, raises rents, increases income, increases tax base,
Good stuff.
decreases stress on the residents for tax base. So that's a thumbs up from the planning board. So you want to continue this and talk to your client and come back with two positives, or can you commit to it now, or how do you want to handle this?
Yeah, so where do we stand with the pylon sign?
That's what we're talking about, the pylon signs.
Okay, I thought we were discussing the monument sign.
Well, I'm grouping them together. We're talking the same treatment on both of them.
Oh, okay. So the pylon sign is up 23 feet in the air. I'm just not sure the juice is worth the squeeze. I don't think you'll be able to see a 2-inch dimension up 23 feet from the
Well,
sight line.
if you want to go
of the
channel
road.
letters, or you want to go bigger, well, that's fine. I mean, I agree, it's further's up. If you want to go 3 or 4 inches, I'm fine with that. And if you guys disagree, feel free to, or if you have any.
No, I think that sounds great. The higher up, the more depth would create the perspective, so
Okay.
would that be something you could come back to us for, or?
Absolutely. I can take it back to the client and see what their thoughts are on this.
Okay. Yeah, and just, if they need examples, they can call the office. We've been batting, 1,000%. Everybody's been on board with it, because I get there's budgets, but I bet you Dollar Tree can absorb a couple extra $100. I don't think it's gonna get them that much. just a couple hundred more sales at $1 a piece, I guess. So if you could get them to go along with that, that would be great, and we can get you in and out next time.
And where do we stand in terms of the square footage for all 3 signs? Are we within the bylaw?
Yeah, you're grandfathered, on the outside, and the other one, yeah, you're at 85, so you're fine with that. But we would hold off, again, where the channel letters on the building are a new one, we'll do these all as one decision, so let's, if we can, we could do this as one omnibus approval if you come back with some good news on the pylon, and what do you call the other one? Monument.
Yeah, the monument sign.
I'll write that one down. Sound good, Paul?
Yep.
All right, so can we continue this to our next meeting?
Sure.
2 weeks out, all right? So,
28th?
who wants to vote to continue?
Make a motion to continue 501 Foundry Street sign review till next meeting on January 28th.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a good one.
Thank you as well. All right, next up is a continued public hearing for 7 Glen Road. So I know Peter is going to recuse himself, and I just want to let the applicants know, where this is a special permit, normally on the board, we need 3 for a quorum. Special permit, you need 4. You need a supermajority to vote. And we learned the other day that one of our newest member, Amas, is down south for 7 weeks, and Deb Balsaric was not able to make tonight. She had a personal commitment. So we can continue to go on this. Deb can we can't vote because we can't, you need 4 to vote either way. So I recommend we continue, we go right through it. What Deb can do, I've already spoken with her between now and the next meeting, excuse me.
Why did he recuse?
I don't know. He recused last time too. But by law, we're not allowed, we're not required to ask. But yeah, he did last time, but I don't question for Peter. But, and I apologize, but, extra 2 weeks, but we can keep this going and then take it from there. So, floor is yours.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Scott Rogers, JP Holmgren Engineering.
Welcome.
Before you, previous on this project, and with me tonight are the clients, the ties. So between that meeting and this meeting, we've met with the fire department, as was requested. We met with Captain John DiZallo. Some of the changes that we made per that meeting was, there was some concern between the planning board and also the fire department, the condition of the existing driveway that runs from Glen Road to the existing house. That'll now be repaved entirely, 14 feet wide, the whole length from Glen Road to the existing house.
Okay.
We provided the fire department with some fire truck turn plans that showed that 14 feet wide width is adequate for the truck to get in and out with no problems. We did make a revision to the end of the existing driveway. That's basically a turnaround at number 7. You can kind of see it lightly. There's a kind of a tight radius there. We increased that radius so the fire truck can actually make a turning movement and back in and get out.
Over by the property line. Yeah.
Over to the right of number 7?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep. So that was a small concern, but anyways, it was the fire department was happy about that change. We also agreed on the new house towards the rear there on the right-hand side to add a sprinkler system to that house. We discussed with the fire department the distance from the existing house to the hydrant and the existing end of the cul-de-sac to both existing house and the proposed house. And the recommendation and the agreement that we came to the fire department was we would put a sprinkler system in the new house. The fire department was really happy with that. They actually issued a letter of approval of that, and I believe the planning department has that. I also spoke with the fire chief today as well to go over those items. So that's where we are to date.
Okay, so Glen Road would be repaved from the existing cul-de-sac, right, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Or
the end of,
driveway, I should say.
yeah, the end of the
Glen Road
existing.
extension.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we have anything in writing from the fire department?
Yes.
Okay. No, that's fine. Just want to make sure
what he said.
we cross our Ts. Do you have anything?
Just in the earlier description, there's 21 waivers requested for the roadway. I just wanted to, didn't know if you wanted to go through them or how you wanted to handle that.
Well, I'm familiar with them, and I understand the reasons for, and I think we touched on them previously, but I'll throw that over to my board members. And do you guys feel we should go through them, or?
You want to list them out, and you can put a hold if any of them need to be talked about?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
fine.
We can do that.
Who's gonna say anything?
Do you want me to do it, or you can do it?
You can do it.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't
You
have.
can describe them, though.
Sure.
Okay. The first one, request from curbing. Request from drainage. Request from sidewalks. Request from minor street width. Tree plantings. Fire alarm box. Request from water. Request from environmental impact statement.
Hold for the water.
Hold for the water.
Well,
Okay.
let's just, because there's a well going in, I think, right? That's-
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, that's easy, we'll just handle that one when it goes by.
Request for the environmental impact study. Request for traffic projection study.
I'll need that.
Traffic site plan, computations used in designing storm drainage system. Request evidence of satisfactory performance. Request from the 50-foot right-of-way easement. It's being proposed at 40. Groundwater study, planting strips, hydrological study, utility easements. Open space, electric requirements, relocating electric lights and underground electric to houses. Waiver from fees, and watershed plan. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, given the nature of this project, I think most of those waivers are
Acceptable.
self-evident for the most part. And I'm assuming, because if this is approved by this board, it hasn't gone to Concom yet, right? So, I mean, they'll be taking a look. I mean, they'll be handling, I mean, I look at this as an extension of a driveway. So, existing grading the way we do sort of a common driveway, because it's really what it is, even though we're using a different mechanism to achieve it. So, do you guys have questions or comments?
I don't.
So I did go out there, and I don't think the road would need to be completely reconstructed, but it definitely needs to be repaved. It's got lots of potholes, et cetera, right now, so.
We've been holding out for this.
Right,
Yeah, wait till the excavators are done.
yeah. That's my only comment.
Okay. So normally, we would ask if you wanted to close the public hearing, and then we would take a vote. But since we can't, once we close the public hearing, we can't take in any further info. So I would recommend we just continue, because you never know, right? I mean, it seems like we have everything we need, and I apologize that we can't vote tonight, but your local government tries as hard as they can, but we can't blame people for having lives that trump volunteering sometimes, I guess. So, is there anybody any questions or comments from the audience? If you just need to, Mr. Martin, grab a microphone and just need to identify yourself for the record, and or you can use the stand-up microphone, whichever you prefer. Yeah, but you need a microphone because because it's for cable. It's not to amplify. It's to record TV.
Hi, I'm Rick Martin. I live in Martin Terrace, North Easton. Couple questions. How long is Glen Road Extension? I can't make it out quickly.
I believe it's about, let me do my math here. Let me scale it for you.
We have that in the previous.
280 feet.
280 feet. So this, and how wide is it?
14 feet wide.
So this is basically two houses on one less than 15-foot wide roadway, correct?
Right, it's like a
Correct.
common drive.
Common drive. I thought you didn't approve common drives anymore.
Well, this isn't a common, we do, we have a common driveway special permit process. This is actually an extension of a subdivision to add one house.
So if it's an extension to a subdivision, why isn't the road standard size, standard width?
Well, lots of reasons. The last decade and a half in Easton, we've tried to reduce pervious pavement, better for the environment, better for runoff, keep housing prices down. And it's been, for my 13 years on the board, there's been dozens of examples where pavements varied from, say, 14 to 20 feet, depending on the number of units, and depending on approval by the fire department on the road layout.
Who will end up owning Glen Road Extension?
Be a private road extension.
Private?
Right.
Very interesting.
We try to keep it fresh. Is there anybody else? All right. So, Andrea, you're good, right? All set?
Yeah.
All right. So why don't we? I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to continue to the next hearing.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thanks.
The 27th?
28th, I think. It's on the website. I think so.
Yep.
And it's on the front of your binder.
Oh, it's on here. That's right. Next meeting will be January 28th. It's on the front of the binder?
Front of the binder.
Oh, look at that. My goodness.
Yeah.
All right, public hearing. Well, we have to get Peter back in. 418 Depot Street is next. If someone could tell Peter to come in, that would be great. So he can read. There. Hey, Robert, you want to sign this while we wait? Did you sign this?
Sorry.
Get a Mylar cut there?
Those are bad.
Did Peter run away on us? Thought you could sneak one more. Thought you could sneak one more in. But hand this over there.
Yeah, fine.
All right, Mr. Eblin, the floor is yours. Oh, actually, you have to be read in. We haven't opened this one, have we? Yeah, 418.
Okay, Town of Easton Notice of Public Hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T, MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on January 13, 2020, at 6:30 p.m. in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, Easton Town Offices, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, on the following applications from Frank Riblin for 418 Depot Street, Easton, Massachusetts. Special permit, estate lot under Easton Town Code zoning, section 235-43, to allow the creation of an estate lot, assessor's map, 8R, lots 25 and 25A. Special permit, common driveway under the Easton Town Code zoning, section 235-32, to allow the creation of a common driveway, assessor's map, 8R, lots 25 and 25A. A copy of the applications and plan may be reviewed on the Easton Planning and Zoning Board website. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed application and plan should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
So a couple, right? 3 of them, I think?
4. That's what I was thinking. I think they bundled them all in. We have
Oh,
a
did
estate
they?
lot and common driveway.
All right, you have them all
One
right.
thing, yeah.
Well, it's not like I actually wrote them. All right, thank you.
I looked at it out there, so I figured.
All right, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening.
For the record, I'm Frank Reibelin with Reibelin Land Surveyors, representing the site at 418 Depot Street that is owned by the Azacker family. They have had this property since 2004. The property has one existing home on it. The property is 5.2 acres and it has 378 feet of street frontage. There are wetlands on the property in the westerly portion of it. We have had the wetlands delineated, and we have been through conservation with that, and the Conservation Commission has accepted the wetland line as shown upon the plans that were submitted to this board. Therefore, we do have verification of the extent of upland area available. We are proposing to take this one parcel that has the one house on it and gain 2 additional lots for a total of 3 homes on the property. One of the lots that we would gain is a conventional approval not required lot. They would have greater, or would have 150 feet of frontage and greater than 40,000 square feet of contiguous upland. The other lot would be an estate lot, which would have slightly more than 40 feet of street frontage and has greater than twice the normal buildable area, has over 80,000 square feet of contiguous upland. We feel that the plan satisfies the statutory requirements for the A&R lot as well as the estate lot. There is an existing gravel driveway that services the home that is situated slightly over 500 feet back from the road. This is a graded gravel drive. There's a couple of utility poles along the drive that furnish electricity to the home. The drive has been there for quite some time, and the driveway actually is located, portions of it at least, within the 100-foot buffer zone of the vegetated wetlands. It's a pre-existing condition, and we do not wish to change that and disturb what's already there other than typical maintenance of it. We are in an ACEC area of critical environmental concern, and the Conservation Commission does not look favorably upon applications that would disturb any area within the 100-foot buffer zone or add impervious surfaces within that area. That's why we're trying to maintain the driveway as is. It has been something that seems to have been sufficient to serve as the one home that is back there for quite some time. I do not know the exact year the home was built, but looking at it, observing, I would say that it's probably greater than 30 years old. Both of the homes that would be constructed on the new Lot 1 and new Lot 2 would have a driveway that would come off of the proposed common drive prior to its terminus at the existing home. So both of those other lots' drive would actually come off prior to the existing home, be therefore somewhat shorter. We do feel, again, that we have met all of the requirements. We're not proposing to change the drainage patterns at all within the area, other than simply grading of the driveway. And yes, when we do build the homes, obviously there's going to be some fill and grading required around the homes themselves, as you would with any home construction. But as far as access to the homes, other than smoothing out potholes in the existing gravel drive and regrading, we're not proposing to make any changes that would affect any drainage patterns to the area. Be certainly happy to respond to any questions that this board or anyone in the audience may have regarding the site.
Andrea, do you have anything?
I agree the A&R lot and the estate lot appear to meet the zoning requirements. When it comes to the common driveway, the surface material of the existing drive was a concern. Mr. Reibelin spoke to the fact that it's really pretty pitted presently. The Conservation Commission will be reviewing the entrance within the 100-foot buffer, but stormwater is of utmost importance in the conservation, and there may be some, whether it's gravel or bituminous, you often get a better drainage patterns using bituminous. The 530-foot length of the existing drive, I didn't know if you wanted to look at building envelopes because it's possible both lot 2 and lot 3 could have houses greater than 500 feet from the roadway. The fire department did submit comments similar to 7 Glen Road. They're asking for a minimum 18 feet wide paved driveway, insurance of clearance of 13.5 feet, and a turnaround toward the end of the driveway to allow the apparatus to maneuver, and residential sprinklers.
So why the inconsistency between the two? We just, on Glen Road, there was 14 feet they recommended. Why 18 feet here?
He recommended 18, and when he met on site, he agreed to 14. And they did provide the fire sprinklers, and they did provide the turnaround. And and the clearance is probably something you should just keep as a general condition in perpetuity, because these lower branches, to keep the lower branches out of the way.
Yeah, well, I don't, I mean, in terms of sprinkler, jumping ahead, that's not under our purview. I don't think, we get, the existing house, lot 3, the house is remaining, correct?
The house is to remain. We're not proposing to make any changes to the house.
So whether that's over 500 feet or not, it's.
I believe it is slightly over 500 feet.
I think it's like 520 if I recall.
As I said, the other homes would branch off their driveway prior to that one. As you can see, it would have to. We feel that putting sprinklers, especially in the existing home, would be an extreme undue expense. And the other 2 homes, again, will be located closer to Depot Street, closer to a fire hydrant than the existing home. We feel that the existing driveway, although I do agree with the agent that it could certainly stand to be regraded, and that's something with any gravel driveway, has to be done periodically, and it's time for it to be regraded now. But other than that, I would really be not very happy about having to do other improvements to it. I feel that would be disruptive to some of the drainage patterns, would be an undue expense to the landowners, and would not really benefit again, the existing driveway has proven sufficient for many years.
Yeah, I mean, I think, our bylaw for common driveways does, call out a minimum, gravel. So I don't want to, Concom can deal with you as they do, but just go how we handle things at planning board, we go by the bylaw. But I do, when reviewing the plan, I mean, in terms of the geometry's fine. I thought the driveway itself, like you said, you're looking at the existing topo, it's pretty pitted. And then, I know in the common driveways, we're talking about not changing existing drainage patterns, but I wouldn't mind seeing some proposed topo. I'm assuming, are you going to be digging it up? Is there going to be underground utilities going in the?
Well, again, we already have overhead electric.
Oh, is there overhead? Okay.
There's already overhead electric. Certainly, there will be a water service going into the other homes, but other than that, we're not proposing to disturb the ground surface within the driveway area, other than we certainly can see that it needs to be regraded, but that's
I guess
minor smoothing of it and not changing.
My concern was when I looked at the plan and I thought, and not that, Andrew and I were talking, and especially on lot 1, and do we have the topo? Can we shoot to the topo? I thought it might behoove us all, in the spirit of good planning and communication and having something, a document that we can approve and work off of, to maybe tie, we don't need an exact footprint, but tie the grading of lot 1 into what's happening at the driveway, because you could see ways that it could work easy, or how these things go. Maybe a lot gets sold, you don't know who builds it, and we end up with all sorts of issues. I thought it would be nice to. Where's the topo?
Well, there is a topo sheet.
I have it here, Greg, if you want to look.
Oh, I went to the
Yeah, I was
site
just hoping to
twice.
get it.
Right.
But so, when you look at lot 1, there's, 107 is the low spots. You can look at the road goes 108, 109, back down to up to 110. So, so it's just a matter of, okay, where where's a ballpark idea that the driveway's going? And I just wouldn't mind getting it simple, wouldn't take much time, I wouldn't mind getting a little proposed grading on the common driveway in that area, just, you know, since the topo is kind of
Go any further with it?
Right.
foxhole-ish.
Yeah, the lot itself, on lot number one, for the construction of the home will require some filling on the lot itself. Again, the driveway, we're not proposing to elevate it, but we would have to fill some on lot one. And yes, we could show you some proposed contours in there as to what we feel that lot one would look like. However, I would be very reluctant to be held to any definitive contours shown because at this time, soil testing has not been conducted out there, and until it is for the final design of the homes, we really couldn't commit to what the exact final grades would be as far as groundwater elevations and depth to the proper pervious material.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just, you know, I look at the bylaw calls out, you know, existing drainage patterns and percentages, and I can see you're within the percentages. But then, and knowing that, obviously, this plan's going to Concom, I guess that what I would like to avoid is we approve something, and then there's major changes that come back, so.
Actually, I don't believe it will be going to Concom because all work that we're proposing is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone with the possible exception of laying a water service within the driveway. We're keeping completely outside the buffer zones now.
Right, but I assume because of that.
Exactly, yeah.
Because
Yeah, that's one reason we didn't want to change the drive other than maintaining it.
So it actually
is the
isn't,
yellow the 100? The yellow's the 100, right?
That is correct, yes.
But you're not gonna keep a pothole driveway.
No, I keep saying we do plan on maintaining it
Right.
and regrading it, but typical maintenance and regrading does not require conservation approval to regrade an existing drive.
Okay. So are you opposed to, for planning board purposes, doing what I said? Just
Showing proposed contours? Oh, no.
Just so we can have a record
no,
of it.
No,
and
we have no obligation.
whoever ends up building this, you know?
No, we have no
Because whether you go to
reservations with
Concom or
that.
not is not,
Yeah, yeah.
not the purview of this board.
So now you're also gonna widen the driveway at that, in front of lot one too, to the 14 feet?
Excuse me?
Will you be widening the driveway?
We had not proposed any widening of it. Again, any changes of its size, widening it or that sort of thing would require conservation.
So how wide is it now?
It is, of course, with any gravel drive, it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be greater than 12 feet. You know, there's going to be, you're going to find some wider spots there, but it's going to be greater than 12 at any location.
it's a, it has, its sides are also gravel. So I would question whether or not, when the fire department asks for a 18 feet
I mean, that
of a
must be
paved
to
drive.
pass cars though, right? I mean, that's.
But they also have a larger truck. I mean,
Well,
if he went to 14 over here,
18 's pretty
14 on this site would be tight.
We've, in the past, we've had the fire department's always been happy with 14 to 16. I know there's been some discussions recently. I think I would recommend, since you're gonna be coming back anyways, why don't you contact the fire department and have a conversation with them, you know.
Right, so
that
they've
way.
gone from 18 to 14, we can't just say, okay, well, 12 to.
Right, well, if it's,
12 is
yeah,
fine.
so I mean,
yeah,
well,
that's
and we're gonna need them to sign off on this,
Right.
so. And since, so those are the two main things I can think of. Before I go to any board members, any more questions or comments?
And the turnaround, where would that go?
There is an existing T-shaped or rather L-shaped turnaround right at the home now. It is shown on the topo plan. Looks like what you've scanned up there isn't all coming in all that
And
clear.
I think I thought I saw that. but I couldn't
There
really
is an
tell what was
existing
what, yeah.
L-shaped turn right now that's turn parking area.
So either you or the staff will review all those issues with the fire department and see if they're.
We can discuss those with the
yeah,
fire
right,
department.
yeah.
Work it out in the next couple of weeks. Anybody in the audience have any questions? You just have to grab the microphone, sorry. You just have to identify yourself for the record.
My name is Robert Barrett. My house lane abuts this lot number 2.
Okay.
I'm having a lot of problems with water right now in my basement. And I was just want to cause more problems with my house getting more water with the construction of a house. I don't mind them building a house, but I'm just worried about the water.
Yeah, those high water tables of Easton get us all,
But
don't
always,
they?
yeah.
I used to, when I was building houses, I'd tell people I can guarantee a dry basement with a sump pump. Well, when, you know, as they go through, eventually, assuming this, if this passes, when they go through the process of site, you know, building permit, building a site plan, they'll have to account for the drainage and the runoff on site. So, where, are you north or south?
Robert,
I guess it'd be east or west.
That corner.
What Rachel said.
Oh, okay, yeah, right there.
Plus, I've been there over there 40 years. I've been living there, and the people that lived in that house before, George Bacard, he tried to build a house on that lot there for his daughter, and they wouldn't allow it because they said it was wetlands. Has the laws changed that much in 40 years?
No, they've gotten harder. But I mean, and Easton is pretty stringent on its wetlands. But so the wetlands, which is up in the top right-hand corner, has been delineated by a botanist. It's been approved by the Conservation Commission, and then the red line, you can see that dotted dashed red line and the dashed yellow line. Those are 50. The red is 50-foot buffer off of the wetlands. You can see that, is it blue? I guess the blue line is the line of the wetlands. So each one of those buffers come with, the closer you get to it, more restrictions, or you can't do anything inside the 50. Don't know, can't say what they were speaking to 50 years ago, but our bylaws are all set up to continue existing drainage patterns or improve them, you know, where needed.
How far would the house be built from my borderline to the house? Is there a certain distance?
Well, see the dashed, you can see the dashed line that, you know, looks this far off the property line. We have zoning setbacks in town. So those, it's 20 feet on the rear, 15 feet on the side, 25 in the front. Those, they can't build within that buffer zone between that dashed line and the property line. Inside that, per our bylaw, they can put the house, as long as there's no other, you know, environmental issues. They can put the house anywhere in that. I can't speak, Frank can't speak to where it's proposed now. So.
The lot has not been sold, so at this time, I could not tell you where the potential buyer may wish to position the house.
Are these be duplexes, or this be a regular house? You don't know that?
Well, by right, if these are approved lots, they can do single family. If they wanted to do a duplex, they would have to come back to this board, and that's a special permit. And you would be, as an abutter, you'd be notified, and that's not by right. That's, you know, so.
My main concern was about the water. That was my problem.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in the same, I'm on Pequannock, I'm in the same drainage plane as you. That darn clay 3 feet down gets us, but, you know, and unfortunately, all the houses, you know, my house was built in 1815, and the houses built years ago were all at or below the water table because we didn't have the regulations. Now, you know, you can always tell when someone's gonna move or sell their house because all of a sudden the front backyard goes up and there's a big PVC candy cane because the septic system has to be 48 inches above the water table minimum, right? So houses are the same way, so that's why you see everything goes up. But that doesn't help, those of us with old houses, it doesn't help us, so I'm sorry for that. But if all goes to, built to what is approved, that your condition, yeah, shouldn't get worse, it won't get worse.
Okay, good. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate the participation. Anybody else? Same old.
How you doing? Oh, sorry. Oh, you over there? Yeah. Oh, okay. Different. 430 Depot, Robert Fandel. We have this piece of property over here. So top section. When we purchased, we were told that those were not going to be built on only because they had never qualified perk test wise, that it was just too wet. If you go any day like today, you're going to see the ponding of water I don't know how, from an elevation standpoint, how much fill you'd have to bring in there in order for those lots to ever qualify. I mean, they're just flooded. So my biggest concern, similar to that gentleman, is we sit below the water table. We've gone through the, the 3 sump pumps that we have, 100 linear square feet of French drains. I mean, we can't take any more water. I mean, the stuff that was built over here never should have been built, and that was an abomination. Whatever that lookout, place it was put in. That just has us flooded constantly. The quantity of water that flows through our stream constantly, it's ridiculous. How do they refer to it? It's an intermittent, there's my word.
Intermittent stream?
It's an intermittent stream that I joke.
It's probably a little more permanent than intermittent, I imagine.
I would love to take a float, honestly, from Depot Street down. It would be a ride. I could sell tickets. The quantity of water that flows through that. So how they're gonna put 2 houses with the water going that way into your vegetated wetlands that are already flooded, I have no idea. So, how you guys figure that part out, I'll be at a loss, I don't care about the house, I care about us flooding more than we flood. I don't know how much more I can possibly do to my basement to shore it up so we don't flood. So, that's my comments on that.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Okay, so, and board, Andrea, everybody say everything? So, assuming we'll continue this, 2 weeks out, that's maybe, 28th?
That'd be fine. Clarify with the fire department what their requirements, what their needs are.
I just have a question on the A&R plan. Looks like a separate lot with the shed to be raised on the, on the top of your sheet. What?
Up there?
Yeah, what is that? What is
That
that?
shed to be raised, actually.
Not the shed itself, but just that rectangular.
I believe that's all part of
Oh,
lot 3.
actually, that's just a stone wall that crosses.
Oh, okay.
And the shed is actually sitting on a trailer. The
Oh, really?
shed's got wheels under it.
Oh, wow.
But no, that's all, that little tail there is all part of that lot.
Oh.
There's just a stone wall that crosses it
That was just
at
my
that
rendering must
location.
have made it look like a property line, okay.
For clarification, you're not identifying where the building area on Lot 2 is, but did I hear him say that it would be no farther than the existing dwelling?
I did not say that. What I did say is that the driveway that would go to it would branch off of the existing driveway prior to
I think you should
the
make that
dwelling
clear
at
to the,
518.
you should make it clear.
We have not positioned a home. A home has not been selected for that lot yet, and it probably will not happen until we get a buyer that comes in with a house plan and we position it at that time.
You should make it clear then to the fire department that this house could be farther than 530 feet from the road. And if the turnaround, if you don't want to put a second turnaround, he should know where the turnaround is located for Lot 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you discuss with the department, I'd, ask for ramifications at different spots. And then maybe that means you go in and you may want to give a location or just go for the most, I don't say worst case scenario, but just, whatever his most heaviest requirement. Okay, we all good? Good. Motion then?
Motion to continue the special permits and the A&R plan public hearing to the next meeting. Yeah.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing, 11 Old Stable Lane. Anybody here for that?
Okay. Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on January 13th, 2020 at 6:30 PM in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, Easton Town Offices, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern, Massachusetts, on the application from Scott D. and Emily K. Johnson for a special permit common driveway under Easton Code Book, Chapter 235, zoning, 235-56 special permits, and 235-32 common driveways to allow the creation of a common driveway located at 11 Old Stable Lane, Assessors Map 16U, Lot 166. A copy of the application and plan may be inspected at the Planning and Economic Development Office, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern, Massachusetts, during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed application and plan should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so clearly we have some interest in this public hearing. So what
That was mine.
what we'll do, now that the meeting's open, we'll let the applicant give their presentation. I'll then throw it around to my fellow board members and the acting director of planning. And then we'll open it up for any questions or comments from the floor. If you want to speak, you probably already heard. In fact, at that point, we'll throw a microphone out there. You need to name and address to identify yourself. And I just ask we keep it civil. We're all here to work together and work on good solutions. So, with that being said, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Dave Clendert from Collins Civil Engineering Group. With me tonight is Scott Johnson, the applicant owner, and his wife Emily over there. They're proposing to construct a single-family house on Old Stable Lane. Old Stable Lane, this particular lot has an existing drive through it, which accesses the abutter's property. And what they'd like to do is use the zoning bylaw to create a common driveway. This will create two things. This will obviously save them a few dollars on the construction of the driveway, and it will reduce the amount of impact on the lot. This is a pre-existing buildable lot. The subdivision was done back in the 90s, I believe, or the 80s. The subdivision was approved. I believe this is the last buildable lot on the subdivision. They already had this lot permitted with two driveways. And the applicant feels that the two driveways would be encumbersome. It would look aesthetically poor. You'd have two driveways coming down right next to each other, 230 feet of more cleared land in that area. And so they'd like to take the opportunity to use the existing driveway that is there and to use that portion of it as a common driveway, and then have their own driveway back to their house. This does have Board of Health approval. It is a buildable lot. We've perked it, and the way that the house is laid out and the grades are pretty much what you're going to see out there. Now, the existing easement, the original easement, was 20 feet wide. When we went out there to do the survey, we found out that a portion of the driveway was off the easement. So in order to prevent the abutter from ripping up his driveway, we created a new easement that's 25 feet wide. So the easement that we're proposing is 5 feet wider than the existing easement as is. And I believe there were some other questions that the town had that I can certainly answer any of those as the board sees fit. But that's basically it.
Okay. Just a couple corrections to your opening statement. This lot was not buildable until very recently.
Perk test, yes.
No, in terms of its geometry. This was passed maybe 6 months ago in A&R by this board.
Yeah.
As you know, the previous owner probably had 4 or 5 or 6 different approvals on this in the last few years. And thank goodness, you're here for a special permit on a common driveway, because you're right, as a buildable lot, by right, you can put a house in, and you don't have to come see us. But not only am I the chair of the planning board, I'm a member of the historical commission. I've written a couple of the local historic district bylaws in town. Vice chair of the Community Preservation Act, which was instrumental, or Community Preservation Committee, which was instrumental in funding the rebuilding of the Queesa Gardens and the campus. And I suspect, as a longtime resident of Easton who loves this town and tries to wax poetic in this room often on why Easton stands out from its neighbors, you know, the many gifts that were given basically by the Ames family, open space, architecture. There's a reason people love to come here. There's a reason they've filmed 17 movies in the last 10 years here. And, you know, it's interesting, as someone, just recently, I found a picture of my late sister and I at the Queesa Garden when my son, who just got his PhD, he was 2 years old, and back in the day, we used to call it the Haunted Garden, remember? And I was working for Doug King at the time, and Doug had proposed to put in basically over 55 housing, if I recall, and those of us who worked for him said, oh, we have to keep this, this is fantastic, you know, I had never seen anything like that. And in fact, the wood turner in me collected all of the old cedar trees that were once, if you look back, if you've ever seen that historic picture taken from a hot air balloon in 1908, those stumps are all in my barn, constantly being turned into art. So I love this site, and I've been there for, I think back to 30 years ago when I was there with my sister, and now I look at the concerts that go on there and how it's, the library campus, who Uma could speak to, has expanded and just become fantastic. And it's become a tradition in the town, not only for concerts, for pictures after prom. Championship teams in the schools have stopped there to take their pictures. But people do have a right. The planning board, you know, it's all about land rights. You know, I always say, when do people get involved in planning? It's when it's in their backyard, right? You always tell when someone's in this room, it's because they want something or they're against something. What we try to do is, and that's what I said, we try to find solutions. And I design and build houses for a living. So, and a big part of that, and I never question anybody's, you know, I might go buy a design that I don't like. I have no idea what went into that. I don't know what the context was. I don't know what the charge was. So, you know, but I do think I'm qualified enough to speak and to plead, to hopefully come up with a slightly different version of this. My concern is, and all the time that we spent with Mr. Taylor, and we've spent probably 4 years on this piece of land in the last few years. The town tried to buy, not necessarily this piece, but you know, most of this room knows what I'm talking about. So I'll try to speed it up and be succinct, but it's tough when I hit my passion. So, but my concern is that what is now just a gem for this town and will continue, and there's great plans to continue, will change, not because there's a house there, but because of just the location of everything. You know, sometimes when I first saw this plan, I said, oh, you know, well, geez, we have to put some, why is the septic system there? Why are they clearing everything out? I know the ledge is there. How are they going to blast ledge for the pool? Because there go the two ruins of the former sheds, because they're on the same ledge plane. They're not going to survive whether you use a whole ram or you blast. And I'm like, why, you know, it's so far back. Geez, don't they want a yard? Why is the garage on the southwest side? That's the best. That's where your living space should be. That's the best sun. So I just, you know, we can say no to the common driveway, and you can go in and do this by right. But I just hope through tonight. I'd love to hear why this is designed the way it is. It just seems like it didn't take into account at all the public viewscape. And again, not that I have no idea what type of house you're putting up, and that's irrelevant. Design's subjective. But it seems like with just a little tweaking, it would be simple to, you know, preserve, protect, and enhance what we've worked and spent quite a bit of money on as a town. Because it just, if it goes built like this, then it's just never going to be the same. And that's not me being melodramatic, because no buffer is going to cover this, because you need 150 years, because, your base, your foundation, the top of your foundation's 20 feet above, the starting point of the Queesa Gardens, and then I'm assuming it's a 2 or 2.5 story house on top of that. So, anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. But those are my concerns. This was a site that seemed to really need sensitive design, and a fantastic, site layout could be done here. I don't know if it was forced. I see on here all sorts of, I see easements and I see buffers. I don't know if these are deeded restrictions that went in at the time of purchase. And I can understand protecting, if neighbors out here wanted to protect some trees. But I think I probably speak for a lot of people in town when I say we'd like to protect over here. So, explain. I guess I'd like to know a little more how we ended up here.
We obviously have to go out and perform percolation tests. Where the soils are good is where the septic necessarily has to go. I mean, that lot is filled with ledge, and further down that lot, closer to the road, most of the utilities come in underground. So, that being said, the only available places left were basically in that corner for that lot, unfortunately, which we were able to place a septic system after doing the soil analysis. As far as the house is concerned...
But if I could just...
Yep.
My septic really isn't concerned. That's underground.
Yeah, but it's clear. We're clearing, I know we're clearing a lot.
Well, but that's already clear over there. I mean, most of the trees over there are dead and large anyways. I think the concern here, anybody that has the vision to go out there, the concern is a structure that is just going to, loom large over,
And that structure was, the client comes in to our office, and he kind of tells us what he'd like to see on the lot. Based on that, there are no architecturals, I don't believe. Are there any architecturals yet?
Not to be presented.
So what we have is, okay, we have this size house and the number of bedrooms, and that's basically all the Board of Health plan is based on, is a size house, the number of bedrooms, and the grading around the house to prevent water from entering your basement or your septic backfilling into your basement. So based on the design criteria, it's just what the state allows, how many bedrooms, how large a house you would want, and like you said, where do you want the garage? The garage actually fits on that side because of the ledge. I don't know how you would spin that around unless you go over the ledge. And once you start clearing the ledge, now you've really got something that you can see from afar. So we did, it's more a practical design as opposed to an aesthetic design, I would say.
Bingo. No. But, tell you a funny story, and because I agree, and I understand, because, you're coming at this from a civil standpoint, background, and, a couple of years ago, we had a pretty important property here in town, and they were putting in a sewer treatment plant, and there were proposed roads, there was roads that were approved, they weren't built yet. There was going to be a cul-de-sac, a roundabout, and we were creating a new walkable neighborhood for Easton. And, for me, walkable neighborhoods, buildings address the street, things make sense, right? Well, came in and I'm in this exact seat, and we're looking at this plan, and where the sewer treatment plant, where they had agreed to add some aesthetic detail to it, so it didn't look like just a, concrete block building. It made no sense. It didn't address the street. It was kind of looking this way, and we're all like, why is it here? And it turned out the firm that was supplying the subsurface storage tanks took their computer-aided program, and they took their tank number 3, and they went bump, 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 but they laid them all out. And then they put the building in some space that was left. And when we learned this, I said, so is there any reason why we can't move these 2 tanks over to here and move the building to here where it would make more sense? And he goes, oh, no, we could do that. I just put the tanks in first. So I guess my point is that for such a sensitive site, and I challenge anybody to find we have a lot of sensitive sites in Easton, but this is a hugely important site. And, you know, okay, if that's the only place the septic system can go, well, that's all right. The grade's only coming up a little bit, and that's all cleared over there anyways. But, you know, I mean, gee, I look at this and I'm, geez, don't they want a backyard? Wouldn't they want to, you know, and again, I'll do just no disrespect, but I'm begging you to come up with a better solution. And I'm kind of saying the same thing I've said for the last 10 minutes, I'm sorry, but I think this site, and this is a beautiful subdivision, it's a beautiful area, who wouldn't want to live here? This is one of the best parts of town. This is why we have invested so much in downtown Easton. Look how it's popped. You know, 10 years ago we had all these people screaming about Colton, oh, shovel work's a waste of money. Look how it's changed this town, and the same thing is happening in 2 other parts of town. And Easton's always been a great town, and it's going to get even better. But to keep it great, we need to protect some things. We need to enhance some things. And boy, I caught 32 calls the last 2 days. I had 6 people stop at my house. I love the residents of Easton, but I like my Saturdays too. You know? And today, I don't know, I had another 15 calls and all sorts of emails. And we never get that many, you know, and you know, and it's not people go, oh, how dare they build a house there? It's just, oh, you know, so anyways, I've waxed poetic, give myself a little credit but too much. But board members, I'll throw it to you guys because I'm spinning my wheels. But any comments, questions? I can throw it out to the audience if you'd care.
Yeah, let's hear some.
Okay, Peter,
you have any comments, Peter?
Yeah, so Dave, what is, stay on the bottom of this plan area here, what do you have going, what is all that? Going to be?
Peter.
Yeah.
Down here?
Yeah, just the whole section.
That's just a swale to keep the water from directed into the wetlands that are below there.
Yep.
So it's going to run off from the stone trenches.
So that's why it's a no disturb zone? So
No disturb zone. And there's a no disturb zone. We're staying outside the 100-foot buffer from the wetland that's located off the properties.
Okay, so we don't have that line on this
yeah.
particular plan, okay, right.
Yeah. But there will be a no disturb zone.
I remember that now.
Okay. Andrea, do you want anything?
The fire department made similar comments. It is an existing 12-foot wide, but they're paved parking, but they're asking for 18 feet wide paved with 13 and a half overhead cleared. They are looking for a turnaround. And this house is sited 400 feet back from the road. They do ask for residential sprinklers. I personally appreciate the drainage you've done, thank you. It's nice to have it recharge at the location. I just ask if you have a spot for snow removal, because it's pretty hilly. And then I never found the special permit for the original drive. I was just looking to see if you have it recorded. If you can give me the plan book and page for the recording, I can check to see if there are any conditions on it.
I'll have the applicant get that to you as soon as, I did find the deed reference to the easement
Great,
at the registry. I don't know if you have that. I can supply that, but I'll have the applicant get that to you.
thanks. So I think there's no reason for me to step all over the library Queesit campus. I think you can handle that really well. I do know that the Historic Commission did submit comments that they encouraged through Wayne Beitler. He said that the Historic Commission encourages protecting the heavily wooded buffer behind and views from the National Historic Landmark Library campus, including the main Ames Free Library, the Queesit House, and the Queesit Garden, all of which have been well used by the public and benefit from CPA funding. We received 4 written comments. You have them. One of them was supportive, and the other 3 speak to the same issues as Greg's been speaking to.
Okay, I imagine there's someone in the audience that wants to speak. So why don't you just, who's ever first, just grab one of these microphones, you can keep it out there, and just like I say, identify yourself, please, and,
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Jerry Moss, and I live at 425 Center Street, Southeastern. I'm also on the board of directors for the library and have been for many years. Just as a point of information, I think it would help a lot of folks in the audience if the applicant, Greg, could just walk us through why it's a buildable lot. A lot is used to seeing 150 feet of frontage on a cul-de-sac, on a street, or something like that. So maybe you could just show.
Sure, so in town of Easton, if you have 150 feet of frontage on a public road, which they do, it's a little over, but,
It's the road.
the road, Old Stable Lane. And if you have 40,000 square feet of contiguous uplands, so that's land that is not wetlands, and it has to be contiguous, then you, by right, can build a single-family house, in this zone, you can build a single-family dwelling. You have to, your requirements would be to stay, zoning requirements, you'd have to stay within the setback lines. You know, that's just like most of our houses, you know, whether it was a subdivision or an old house. So this land, this was 2 or 3 parcels of land that had been reshaped by the previous owner through the years. And I want to say maybe 18 months ago or so, came in. At first he was trying to put a duplex in here, and then he was trying to do a bunch of things. And then, but eventually, you know, if you have to understand, no matter how sensitive a site is, the planning and zoning board, okay, in any town, if you meet the bylaw with whatever you're trying to do, we can't say no, you know, for things that are allowed by right. So again, if you go in our zoning book and it talks about, okay, this residential zone, 40,000 square feet, contiguous, you know, so we cannot say no. Now, and like I said, and I welcome you folks to Easton. It's a great town, I you know, we're not a town of, we don't, you know, we got our houses we don't want anymore. And I can't help it. I do this for a living, so I go, oh, there's plenty of solutions here. A house can exist here. And I don't want people in the audience to start throwing rocks at me, because you know, I would rather we come to a nice solution, because you know what, we can kick and scream and boot them out of here, and they can just go in and have a double driveway that'll, yeah, look a little silly. But that's not, I'm not trying to win that victory. I'm trying to, you know, I see solutions where you could have your pool, you could have a great house, you can even have less paving. Hey, I saved you money. And you could have a yard. And it was just, you know, your house is going to be seen, and there's nothing wrong with that. Boy, it would just be nice if it was a little further away. And there are, you know, those old stone foundations. There are plans for those. If you know, someday go to the Historical Society, go to the museum at the railroad station, and see the pictures, great pictures of what was there. And there's a group in town that would like to restore that. And you can see the condition of those. They've kind of been repointed, but you know, that 30 feet away from the ledge, those aren't going to survive. So, anyways, I kind of went past your question.
No, that's fine.
I get Gabby sometimes.
Just kind of wanted to set the table and get that out of here. So, as the chairman made reference to it, this is a significant site we're talking about, and the site I'm talking about is the abutting site of the applicants, which is now Queeset House, the library, the Italian Gardens, and just off-site now we've got the next Richardson building, which is the hall. So where do we fit in here? We fit in this way, and I say we because I'm a member of the board of directors, but I can't speak for the library because the library has not met on this issue. The reason the library has not met, in addition to the holidays, is that the notice did not go to the library. The notice went to Queeset House, which is 51 Main on your abutters list. The library's 53. So we're just getting on board late. And we want a partnership with abutters. There's no question. We don't want something to win that we don't have some input, some dialogue with the applicant. But we need a little time, so that's one thing I'm going to be requesting is that, I imagine the hearing will be continued anyway, but I'd like the hearing continued for a month so that we can notify the board, have a proper meeting, do our due diligence. And it's not only the due diligence for the library, we do due diligence on behalf of the town, because as members of this board will recall, many years ago, we entered into a memorandum of agreement with the town of Easton. That is the library board entered into a memorandum of agreement. And what that agreement is for is the library has primary authority over and has the duty to maintain the Italian gardens. We manage the Italian gardens in conjunction with the input received from the Horace Historical Commission. That's our charge. We're stewards. You're stewards, we're stewards. We're in this together. And although if you look to your SP, your special permit criteria, there's people focus on the 6. This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Speak to these things, and that's what the applicant should be doing out of here. But it's more than the 6. If you look, the lead-in paragraph to those 6 criteria is your duty is to weigh the benefits against the burdens and decide, you know, gee, we need to say something about this because there's going to be a serious impact here. And I know that's where you're going, but I just think it's important for other people to be on record and saying the same thing. And I don't want to repeat a lot that's been said here already. I know there are other people that want to speak, but I do want to say to you, library as a town board, as you are, the fact that the notice defective, I would say, because it didn't go to the didn't go to one of the abutters. We're here, fortunately, but we're not here fully prepared because we haven't had opportunity to study this, do our due diligence, and be an effective partner, if that's what this is about. We want to be effective. We don't want to be coming off half-cocked. We want to know what we're talking about. We want to do our due diligence, be able to come to the table in an effective way, that representing not only the library board, and again, also representing the town in our capacity as stewards of the Italian Garden. So, again, I'm not speaking for the board. I can't tell you what every member's position is because we've not had that meeting. But speaking as a member, speaking as a citizen, I think it's very important that we spend some time on this. This is not a one-shot deal and we're out of here, you know. We want to do the right thing for all concerned. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Tim Hurley, Chair of the Historic Commission. I'm not as good as Jerry. I need notes here. The proposed house is located on the border of the Ames Local Historic District and a stone's throw away from the Ames Shovel Works, which Greg mentioned a few minutes ago, which is one of the few intact properties from the Industrial Revolution. I mean, we have national recognition for this, so you know, you're very close to this. A few years ago, they wanted to erect a cell tower. We'll call it the Pool Hill, Town Pool Hill. They had to float a balloon to the height of the tower plus a few feet in order to be allowed to erect that. It could not be seen from a local historic district, and it was visible. So that's how finite this is. This is, you know, this is a big deal. So, you know, in fact, that the balloon could be seen. We hope that properties developed bordering us are going to be sympathetic to our district. Thank you.
Ed Hands, 20 Purchase Street. I agree with the chairman that you do have a right for a single-family dwelling there, but I would hope under the special permit process, compromise can be worked out where an order of conditions can be developed that would minimize the impact on this property, which is of national importance. You know, the boundary of your property is the boundary of the Ames Historic District, National Register District. The property itself is important to the town. You've heard how people's graduation photographs are taken there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a revenue-generating property for the library, and I just think that as a newcomer to the community, maybe take a month, listen to people, and then let's work something out that makes everybody happy, or almost everybody, but you're never going to make everybody happy.
Thank you. Anyone else out there?
Janice Brockman, 59 Mill Street. First off, I want to say it's not in my backyard. I'm not a member of the Historic Society. I'm not part of the library. I am just a plain old, regular old citizen of Easton. So that's where I want to start off. This particular area, down by the hall, the library, etc., is part of our fiber of Easton. And for anyone to change the vista that is seen, the vista that we see, would be detrimental to us as a town. As a town, the citizens have donated for years CPA funds to do various different things to each of those structures. I'm not going to name all of them. And it has been something that we have invested in for many, many years. Craig, I know, mentioned that the previous owner has been before the board to do things. As far back as the 1990s, when I was on the executive board of NRT, we were concerned with the previous owner building back in that area where NRT had a conservation, and I believe still does have a conservation restriction. So this has been an ongoing thing for, 3 decades? Maybe not in that exact same property. One of the concerns that I personally, and this is me personally, have, is I looked through the documents that were online, through the Bristol County deeds and so forth, and I noticed that there was a utility easement going up to the left side of the property that would be shared with abutting properties in the future for perhaps future development. That would bring future development even closer to, just from me looking at it, I am not an architect, but I think that would bring possibly building closer to these historic properties that we're talking about. So I am very concerned about that portion of it as well. I think I got perhaps all of this that I wanted to do, but I just want to double check my notes. Just to repeat, but we are on the National Register. It's just not a local thing that we are a national. Portions of those areas are national treasures, just not things that people in Easton are have in their heart. It is something that's really on the National Register. I think that's very important. It would be a shame, and I don't expect it, but I mean, it was a shame, I think, if the board would ignore some of the benefits that this area has for our town. It brings people in. I actually have run into people downtown at times, a whole group of people that come here to get a tour, because we have so many Richardson as well as Olmsted projects all located in one small area. So there's tours coming in, and these weren't people like from Boston or whatever. They were people from New York, people from Chicago. So it's something that I think needs to be considered. And I know you want a new house, and I think everybody understands it, but I agree with what the board said. We need to have some type of natural division so that it does not limit the vista that we have from the library side and Oaks Ames Hall and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I might be able to address that easement question that you
Okay,
had.
sure.
The easement that's on the upper side of the property.
The left side?
Yeah, the west side, yeah. That easement was.
You're going to want to get closer.
Good pickup, Bob. Yeah, he just meant the microphone. Oh, but yeah, you can.
That easement was initially for the original property owner. He owns this property back here, and he was going to run some utilities out from the road. He wanted to make sure he had that ability. I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, that he no longer needs that ability, and that easement is going to disappear from that lot. Sure.
Yes, you may.
That's fine if that's the case, that's the case, that's great. However, on the Bristol County Registry of Deeds, I don't have the book and page written down, it mentioned that that was still in vogue until sometime later this year.
That's correct, but it's an unused easement, and as far as I understand, it will not be used, and there will not be any future development back there.
And is that something that could be given in writing to this board, so that
I don't think it could be given in writing, but as soon as the easement is gone, we can inform the board.
or perhaps postpone any approval of this project until after the deadline of that easement expiring?
Well, the easement has nothing to do with this project, really.
Yeah, I mean, legally, we couldn't do that. And, even with the easement gone, there's still a 15-foot side setback.
Yes.
So even if there is we might gain 5 feet towards the solution, but you still have a 5 foot. But
My concern was future development
right, but
in the
there's
backlands.
there's no way it's not possible for any future development anymore. That was, to Dave's point, that was back when he was pitching all sorts of different ideas. Anybody else in the audience? No. Okay. Circle back to the board. Any questions or comments or?
I think the most difficult thing about this project, and I think Greg hit on it, but it's a point that I think needs to be emphasized, is that we're, at this point as a board, we're really faced with just two alternatives here. It's not approve or disapprove the project, it's approve or disapprove the common driveway. And I hope it's been laid out that having one driveway versus two back there is probably preferable, even though the project itself may not be. I mean, this is my neighborhood as well, and if you got our Christmas card this year, you'll see that my two toddlers, right in the backdrop of the photo, is where this house is going to be. So I feel what everybody's saying here on a personal level, and I feel constrained a little bit because we're really not faced with the option I think that you all want. And so I just wanted that to be said, because I think the two options that we have, the third option, which is, we're maybe consider giving this some more time, which is something I certainly would entertain, to see if there are any, options here that are not so drastic. But I just want to emphasize that point, because that's what I'm feeling and seeing here.
Yeah, I want to just cut to the chase. There's going to be a house built on this lot.
Right.
If not by these nice folks, by someone else. And they have the right. We don't like it, then we should change our bylaws. But there's, for me, what I'd love to see happen, and our board, we do lots of site walks. We're gladly meet out with you out on site. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Easton, if this is your first time moving back. I want you to, you can tell this means a lot to the community, and it's not just the 45 people in this room. We could fill this building with a few thousand. And I think there are solutions to be had, and hopefully, hopefully we can get to those. But like I said before, I'm glad there's a special permit before us for a common driveway, because otherwise this would have just happened, and that doesn't make it, nobody, no one's a bad person. Everybody wants a house, and people have different, some people love history, some people, whatever. But, I just, it would be a shame to let strict, water table heights and septic set guidelines dictate the design. Olmsted didn't work that way. Richardson didn't work that way. They created art, and art can be created here, and I hope it is. So, with that said, oh, yeah, just grab a microphone. Anybody, the more the merrier.
Hi, my name's Edward Horan. I'm in a butter. I'm at 49 Lincoln Street. I just had a couple questions about granting the special permit for the common driveway and the criteria. I read through Colin's civil engineering brief. You know, I looked at, in particular, numbers 1, 4, and 5. And, only upon written determination that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts to the town or the neighborhood in view of the particular characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that site. And the first criteria being social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal. And I looked at the brief, and on 1 and 4 in particular, I thought it was very thin and flimsy. It didn't address, it might have addressed the neighborhood at Old Stable Lane, but there was not even an attempt to address all of the concerns here today. And I'm looking just at 1, the social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal, and I can't think that there really are any. But I can point to, as other people have, that there's a lot of adverse effects here. So just in determining the criteria for granting a common driveway, that one, I can't see how that weighs out in the balance. Also, the number 4, the neighborhood character and the social structure. Yeah, it's not going to impact the neighborhood character of Old Stable Lane, but it's going to dramatically impact the neighborhood character of the Ames Free Library campus. And again, I don't see in the brief prepared by the civil engineers, that there's any compelling argument to be made that there are more benefits that outweigh the adverse effects of the impact of the neighborhood character and social structure. So I know that number 5, the impacts on the natural environment. The house, Greg, you had mentioned about how there's a lot of old and dead and dying trees there. There isn't currently a naturally wooded buffer where this property is proposed to be built. In fact, it will be built with the pool and the house on top of the only existing woods and trees that are there currently. So, how even if it was set back, I mean, you're looking at, at 150 years, as you said, that it would take to, create a naturally wooded buffer there to protect the views of the garden. I just feel that just even in the granting of the special permit for the common driveway, those 3 criteria aren't being met, and because the adverse effects outweigh the benefits.
Yeah, no, and Mr. Horn, I agree 100% with you, but, and like I say, I figured everybody was here smart enough tonight, so I was like, if we, and under this, right, especially number 4, but if this board doesn't grant a special permit, this is just not the only way they can build a house here. They can still do it by right. There's nothing, so that's why I'm going with the, I'm throwing myself on the court. And I'm hoping that, I have no idea what Mr. and Mrs. Johnson expected coming in here, and I was just hoping that, knowing that the good people of Easton, or some of the good people of Easton, speak up, that we could try to find a solution. There will be a house built here.
Could you speak to, just for my own knowledge and everyone else's, what changed in the bylaws within the last 18 months or 8 months that made this a buildable lot? What changed that made this a buildable lot?
Nothing changed in the bylaw. What happened was, Mr. Taylor combined some land. It's not very big, but, so the frontage, can you zoom out, Andrea? I just want to see the road.
Yep.
I'll just point to be easier. So, over the course of the last year or two, so the frontage in this case the lot, you know, where it abuts the street, goes up along here. You can see there's 83 feet and 27 on the radius and 34. It goes around and adds up to a little over 150. If memory serves me, it was on the north portion, Mr. Taylor, there was either a small piece of land that had kind of fallen by the wayside through the years, or he clipped off a piece, but he created, and anybody can do this in Easton. If you have, like I said before, if you have a piece of land that has 150 feet on a public road and public way and 40,000 square feet of contiguous wetlands, uplands, you have a buildable lot. And if there was not an application here for a driveway, if they had just gone in for building permit with this as is, there was no way, other than maybe revisions at Concom or something, but it could not have been stopped. It would be allowed. And so that's why, I'm coming clean, because I'm like, I'm hoping that, then say, okay, well, just heck with this, let's just put in a driveway. We can live with a double driveway up there. I'm hoping that, while we're here in a public forum, we can try to improve the situation for all. So it's, again, it goes back, it's land rights. We all have a right, by right, whatever's specified in a town or a city. If you meet that, you're allowed to do it by right.
All right, and just one last comment. And I'm not sure about Mr. Johnson, and maybe if we had more time to figure this out between the Ames Free Library and the town, but would they entertain the possibility that this could become a lot that would be sold to the Ames Free Library?
Well, that's not a discussion for this room. That has nothing to do with this board.
Imagine, I think that original, I believe like the easement to the NRT, what was that, from the 70s? So this isn't, really a new thing, and, imagine the thousands of hours that just people in this room have spent volunteering and all the preservation the town's done. We're here and it's now, so perhaps no option would ever be off the table, but now we're here.
That has nothing to do with this board. That's not, that has nothing to do with us.
We're here now.
But I'm just saying that and also hoping that this could be extended out so that maybe something like that, a deal like that could be worked out rather than, rushing to
I want to
judgment.
stop you there, again, because I want to be fair to the applicant, and has nothing to do with this board. I just don't want to discuss that in a public forum. We're here to discuss the special permit. I have to keep it with what's on the agenda. Okay. I understand what you're saying, but this isn't the place for that.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to point out that Mr. Horn and Ms. Horn's eloquent comments on 23556 are in your binder.
Yeah, I was a butter and I was notified, and, I had brought this to the attention of a lot of folks in the community that weren't aware of it. And I again, just to speak to the fact that, nobody had enough time to come to the table here and have an honest dialogue with all the information and knowledge that they might need, so.
I just want to be careful with words. I don't think there's any dishonest dialogue going on here.
Oh, no,
But
sure.
I know what you're saying.
Honest in that everybody knows what they're
I saw a post you put online. They said, this is, it's what I like about Easton. What I love about Easton. We love our community, and we're given an awful lot of gifts, and we enjoy them, and that's why you want to move in. So,
Exactly.
And so, do you want a young man back here?
Edward Thomas Horan Jr. I live on 591 Central Street in Stoughton. This is my son, Teddy. And I just find it hard to imagine that you can't put more teeth into this situation, given, and I haven't reviewed the material altogether, but the idea of the common good and the fact that hundreds of people visit the campus every day, the library, children, and it's, again, a jewel. H.H. Richardson, Ames's, all the history that you've so eloquently described to us.
Not often people use that word with me either, so thank you.
But you own a house that was built in 1850.
That's right.
So obviously you have some appreciation for times past. Now, We are at a very, very crucial point in the road here, and there's only two ways you can go down. You can allow the Johnsons to move forward with their plan to disturb the culture of the gardens and the Queesit, or you have the right to deny them that right of way that could either permanently postpone that endeavor, or, I mean, I can't see any value to, and you don't know at this point. You're giving him the right to build anything he wants. Am I?
I'm not giving it to him. The
No.
bylaws of Easton give it to him.
Okay, but that could be a shack, that could be a mansion, that could be anything that dwarfs and looms over that garden.
Sure.
And I don't think it's fair for future generations to have to be set by that, nothing personal. But why are you doing this?
Well, whoa.
Why would you do this?
All right, I want to point out a couple things. First of all, this land,
I'm serious.
This land was publicly available for sale for several years, and that was not a secret.
You
okay?
mean the?
Just hear me out, all right? So, and many of the people in this room were well aware of that and were involved in lots of discussions. Okay, so that's that. Now, again, land rights. Now, again, you know what? This board has no problem. We put teeth in if we have to. I think we've done a real good job, a very good job, protecting lots of things in Easton. And so, you know what? As a chair, I said, okay, I can come in here, guns loaded, ready for bear. We're not going to give you the, but that's not their only way in.
But you could do that.
Right, but that's not going to do anything. Then they're just going to go, okay, well, that guy was a jerk. Let's put a driveway right here. I want to come up with a real solution. I don't want to come in here and call names and be inflammatory.
But there is no real solution.
Yes, there is, sir. By right, they can go in with there's nothing keeping them from putting in a separate driveway.
Right. Or any kind of building structure that they want, no matter how looming, and including the swimming pool. So, to me, I'm going to get back to the public good, okay? And I hope that we can hang our hat on that. And again, I'm not a real estate developer. I don't understand all the ins and outs of what it is you do, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. But again, I just want to go on record as being opposed to any development of that property. And in any way it can be stopped, I'm in favor of that. Sorry about that, but that's the way I feel.
Okay.
And we're talking future generations here, and the hundreds of people that enjoy that every day, and it just seems like for you to have that opportunity to live above all of this, it just doesn't square with me, okay? Others perhaps.
But what about, and that's fine, but see, here's the thing I always get. I don't know, is this a New England thing, or, it's like, your house, my house, wherever we live, when our houses were built, wetlands were affected, trees came down, animals had to move, impervious area was, and then all of a sudden it's like the next house that goes in, it's the end of the world. Now I suspect there are more than 2 or 3 or 4 people that abut this property. So what you just said about this man's property, well, why don't those houses be raised too, because we can see them from the Queesit? That's not a viable solution. And I understand, I appreciate your passion, and I understand it, but we have to deal with the rules here. When you really, there's only one commission. Conservation commissions can say no to things. In terms of with bylaws, zoning bylaws, if you meet whatever type of building, if you meet the zoning in that district, we cannot say no. We have certain ways we can govern, driveways and streetlights and things like that, but we cannot. You are allowed there is a legal right for a house to be built on this property for all the reasons I've already said. And at this point, we're sort of out of the norm. We're working as a community tonight. That's how I look at this. Trying to welcome a new resident, potential new resident, whatever. And I'm assuming a house is going to get built there. If it doesn't, if it gets bought, fine. But I just want to. I'm dealing with what zoning has to deal with, and we're trying to make what I think we all feel right now, or many of us feel, could be a really bad situation. We're trying to improve it.
Well, in terms of, for instance, the reverse case would be eminent domain, for instance, where all of a sudden these beautiful houses existed in Boston, but they wanted to put a highway through, so those houses were torn down, and so apparently for the common good. And so I see this as kind of the opposite argument. And I, again...
Yeah, no, I understand. I appreciate your passion. But we, you know, we get this all the time. Not quite as, this is a little different one, but it's, you know.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. You know, we would all love for nothing to ever be built and keep it the way it is, but that's, you know, if the town wants to come up with $4 billion and buy everything, that's great. But just grab a mic, guys, either one of you. You have to use a microphone. You can take it back out there if you want, so you have to keep getting up.
Take it back there? Oh.
Yeah, it'd just be easier. Although you probably want some exercise. No.
Could definitely,
I'm teasing Ed. He's a
could
good
definitely
friend.
use
I'm
that
sorry.
exercise.
That wasn't appropriate.
See me at the Y tomorrow morning.
How about the donut shop?
After the Y. I was actually, many, many years ago, opposed to this common driveway deal because I could foresee it leading to all sorts of issues. But thank God we did it, because this is our only opportunity to mitigate something that could be a total disaster. I always find it fascinating on property rights. This is apparently the only absolute right in America. Every other right under the Constitution is limited. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, et cetera, et cetera. And I would argue that property rights are limited as well. Our zoning laws are a way to limit those rights. But put that all aside. You know, we need to deal with this issue. I just want to throw in one thing. It's called shifting baseline syndrome. And that's everybody loves Easton because of its wonderful history and its conservation. And what they do is they come here and they chop the trees down and build a modern house. And then the next bunch of people will come and say, gee, this doesn't look as bad as where we're from. You know, I love the history, I love the conservation, and they do the same thing. Ultimately, we're going to run out of history and we're going to run out of conservation. What we have here is an opportunity to work something out that will work for the homeowner and work for I think what the majority of people here in Easton want, which is a beautiful historic area that attracts people from all over the world. So let's work something out.
Yeah, you know, and you're 100% right. I was just in a meeting that they were rewriting some zoning on Five Corners, as I said. And the consultant we're working with, I said, okay, I want to do all, we were talking about certain things. I said, I want to do all this by special permit. Because I was getting nervous by right. Because, you know, to Ed's point, you know, sometimes it's good to, you know, especially on commercial, people always just think about that bottom line. A special permit is a great way to work because it allows us to sort of collaborate. Or in something like this, like, yeah, wow, this came out of nowhere. When I saw this, I'm like, oh my goodness. You know, I'm like, oh, please let's work out something here. So anyways, I'm babbling on. Anybody else?
Point of information.
Need a microphone. And you know, you've been here a lot. So. Point of information. Good thing I have a lawyer on the board. With that opening.
You know, I know how to read a lot of these very well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand a thing you said. So,
Oldest trick in the book.
let me repeat what I think you said.
Okay.
And you can tell me if I'm misreading everything. The question was, how did this get changed from not having enough frontage to all of a sudden having enough frontage? And that the prior owner changed some of the property lines. So did he grab a piece, like perhaps that little right piece that's got the curve on it, and add it to the other side? Is that what you were saying?
No, it was up. So you see, go to the very bottom left, right, where the property line starts, and see it says like 31.17 or 11. That was there, and then you go up and it's 83.59. That was there, and you hit the curves. It was somewhere, and it was up. If I memory serves, it was up near that curve. That piece, there was right. There was either a wedge that was just that piece had been sold and it stayed there forever.
I was
And
trying to
yeah.
understand it, and I didn't.
It was supposed to be a lot originally, and then it.
So he bought it from
The
someone else, I
subdivision's
think.
like 25, 30 years old, and it just, so they were combined.
Okay.
It was combined in the.
I just couldn't
yeah.
understand.
Yeah,
so
no
thank
problem.
you.
Sure. And again, that's because it's on a public road, and
Yeah,
it,
I know
you know,
the
it
rest,
checks
yeah.
all the boxes.
I
so.
understand the rest, yeah.
Was there another hand up?
Jerry Masson again. Just a couple of things. One, I think, Mr. Chairman, you and the board have done a good job of laying out what's at stake here in terms of two alternatives, if you will. A driveway as of right versus a common drive vis-a-vis a special permit. I think there are a lot of documents involved with this matter. There's been statements made that there are easements on record that are going to go away, that sort of thing. So I think we have a choice. Basically, the choice is: do you want a common driveway? Do you want a driveway as of right? And I think that's something we have to think about, because with a lot of things, there may be unintended consequences. You say that no one's entitled to a special permit. We know that. There is a grade that has to be achieved, and you do have your discretionary power applying the community standard, et cetera. And that's sustainable to a court. But nobody wants to go there, but we do need sufficient time to determine, are there unintended consequences, at least from our perspective, the community's perspective, that's at stake here. This is a little bit complicated. There are a number of documents, there are a number of plans to see, does this involve anything else? Does this open up anything else? And so I, again, just renew my request that I think we ought to have a continuance for a month. I think the idea of a site walk is great, and I think the opportunity to discuss this in a different setting with the applicant and maybe members of the board would really be a good call at this point. So thanks.
Sure. Okay. So, anybody else in the audience? Come on up, Rick.
Oh, I have to get up again?
Come on, you know that. Always have to have a microphone.
You want to?
I keep trying to put your microphone out in the audience, but it's not going, so.
Well,
Not the walk, I'm getting up, it's hard. I don't, this is incredible. I appreciate everything everybody's done here. But I don't believe that a month would be enough time to wade through all of this. I think this gentleman deserves an opportunity. We don't have any idea what his schedule might be to talk about this and see what kind of things you can work out, because I agree with almost everybody here. I say almost because not all of you have spoken. But is it reasonable to suggest 2 months? Would that bother you?
Yeah, no, we're not, well, that's too far out. In fact, there are timelines, now that this is a public hearing. We have to keep this thing going.
Compared to the history of Easton, 2 months is.
Right, but there's an awful lot of intelligent folks in this room, and I bet you if we had to, we could come up with a solution in a week. But I understand, we're and I haven't even requested anything yet, but we're going through, our planning director left the end of the year, so, Andrea is juggling many balls, as she handles the interim.
You don't need to say all of that. Is there agreement here that a month is enough? Because you get all these people.
Well,
who
as
are
the chair,
scheduled.
I'll get to that. I'll determine what it's going to be. Thank you. So, anyways. Okay, is the audience good? So I want to move to the next segment. All right.
One question, if I may.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lead in the water.
No, you don't have to do that. You just got to get to a microphone.
Okay, thank you. There's a lot of ledge up there, the drilling and blasting that would occur. Is that going to have an adverse effect on the ruins of the buildings that abut? We're talking about the garden area there.
It sure could. I mentioned that earlier. Yeah,
I know, but I've walked that land. There's a lot of ledge up in there.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Now, you can find probably a place where you can put a foundation, but anything else that's going to go up there is going to be a lot of drilling and blasting. And I've done that kind of work, and I know how destructive it can be, no matter how careful you are. So,
I imagine there'll be an insurance survey or two in the neighborhood, especially with those buildings. Okay, so anyway, so I was going to say, and I thank everybody for the input. I do, and the participation. This is what, this is why we have this, and it's nice to see it utilized, and we thank you guys for participating, and I hope you understand the nature of where it's coming from. So my first question is, is there interest in doing, I'd love to bring the board up there and have a site walk, a site visit, if that interests you. And it wouldn't, it's how site visits go, we don't deliberate, we just go, it's most for informational purposes. And don't have to, but it's just, some of us have the ability to read plans. Pretty much, well, everybody on this board does, but there's no substitute for being on site. And then second, would you be open to continuing, 2 meetings?
Hi, everybody. Is this on?
Yeah. It's not
it's not
it's just for
amplified.
cable, it's not for
Okay.
amplification.
Emily and I are Americans just like you. And we want to be your neighbors. And I'm an Eagle Scout, what you might call a real American. And I believe in the rule of law. And I grew up in the town of Andover in a building site, in a beautiful part of town, the oldest part of town, and I watched the tackiest developer build on a 160-acre farm that I grew up in and played on, and rode our horses and our dogs, and watched him destroy that site. As he said to us, it's the most beautiful site possible, and he put up just the most ugly tract housing you could ever imagine. You people have hit the jackpot with us, and I know how you feel. I am a person that hates development. I'm not a developer. Emily and I built a house in Vermont recently. It's won all sorts of awards. It fits into the landscape. We're sensitive to the landscape. The reason we bought this land is because it is spectacular. We know who Frederick Law Olmsted is. I was just in Central Park this weekend in New York. We know who Richardson is. I worked in the interior design business for 35 years. You've been in my projects. I've sold many, many products to Shepley, Bullfinch, Richardson, and Abbott, which is now just called Shipley. That's the guy that designed your library. I am so aware of what we're dealing with there. And I know a lot of you assumed that you were going to have somebody come in there and put something horrible in there. That's the last thing. We're highly aesthetic people. We live in a home now in Milton on Hillside Street, if you're familiar with it. We don't own that house. We consider ourselves the caretaker. The foundation dates to 1697. You want to talk about history? The man that built that house, the house burnt in 1770. His grandson was a Tory in the British Army. He rebuilt that house. It owned most of the town of Milton, and it was deeded the Blue Hills land. When we restored that house, I personally watched the contractors and made sure they didn't cut one piece of molding. It's a gorgeous home. We didn't rip it out and make new moldings. When we put the staircase in, I paid to have all the knives cut to make the staircase identical. Every listell, every newel post, identical to how it was originally built. People come in there and they can't believe that that staircase wasn't there originally. So I have a lot of emotional attachment to history like you do. And I promise you that we're not going to build something they're ugly. We're going to build a home that's one level because I'm getting older. And we're planning for the future. So that's where our mindset has been. We don't even know if we're going to put the pool in any longer, too, by the way. Although the pool really isn't going to affect your view at all there. It's because it's at ground level. And I was advised not to speak too much, but I thought it was important that you saw the human side of this as opposed to the McMansion side of it. I can't stand McMansions. We have watched the Hillside neighborhood be bastardized by developers finuking the rules left and right. I sit on the warrant committee for the town of Milton. I've been to many planning board meetings, and I've been on your side of the fence. The house is already permitted. In other words, this hearing has nothing to do with the permitting. I talked to the neighbor that we're sharing the driveway with when we were literally staking the lot to clear for the driveway. And I saw the 2 lanes of road there, and I said, this is insanity. It'll destroy the rural character of the neighborhood. It's going to cut 250 feet of trees down. And I didn't like it. So I called her on the phone, and she came to me and said, this is great. And so and when I came into this town, I met with Stephanie. I went to the town hall. I introduced myself. I developed a relationship with her. And she actually said to me that she thought this was a really great application at the time for the special permit provision in the town. And that's why we went forward with what we did. Now, that being said, you're going to see mostly darker colored roof line from this house. You're not going to see a huge 2-story house back in there. The other thing that I've thought about, and I have to talk to my wife, Emily. She doesn't bite, believe me. The other thing that as I hear this is, as the gentleman back there said, that he'd do anything to stop this. If you get your checkbook out, and it's going to upset you that much, we might, if it's okay with them, we might be willing to sell the land to you. But right now, I own a piece of land that, by putting a special permit application in, it's delayed my construction by 6 months already, and that cost me money every single month. I'm carrying 2 mortgages. I'm paying interest on all of this. So you talk about delaying it, it sounds great, but, and I also run a company where we use everybody from the lowest level of the company up to make our decisions. I'm more than willing to talk to people. I believe 10 heads are better than 1 always. That's why I say you hit the jackpot here. You have somebody with an open mind here. I don't have an open wallet. I mean, I only have so much money, and I only have so much time. It has to be quick. But I'm not in favor of extending the meeting. But I hope that you can hear in my voice that I'm sincere and authentic in what I'm saying. And I think I've given you a lot of evidence to that effect, to know that we want to do the right thing. We're very aesthetic people. We do not want to, we bought this for that property and the town and the way it fits in. And the builder looked at me and he said, man, if there was ever a piece of property, he literally said this when I brought him out there, that somebody could ever find a piece of property that was amazing, it'd be you. And he was blown away that we found that piece of property. We know what we have here, it's a jewel. But if you can rally the troops and you want to make us an offer, and it's okay with Emily, I don't know, we still have to do, this all came up, I'm shooting at the hip. It's a possibility that we're willing to listen to, or I'm willing to listen to, but again, I'm not making any promises about the sale of it. So look forward to having his neighbors.
You should have been the first speaker.
Everybody made a lot of assumptions. Yeah, I'm hungry. My dinner's at home.
So if I heard you right, you're not looking to continue. So you're saying you want us to close the public hearing?
I would prefer that, and I would be interested in talking to you too.
Once the public hearing's closed, nothing we can do.
We got a notice issue.
What do you mean? I don't understand. I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think given that the notice wasn't sent right there, we could, yeah, we don't have to close it right now.
Never had a notice issue before. Anyone want to educate me?
It was sent to the Queeset House. Yeah, it didn't go to the library, so it sat in the box without anybody
And
realizing it.
the library is a separate owner from the Queeset House?
Yeah. I get a little confused as to what the address is too. Yeah. Yeah, they sent it to the Queeset House, but the Queeset House is run by the library. And so it was sent to the address, but it didn't get to the owner.
That was off a certified list of abutters. That was certified by.
Yeah.
So are you saying
Yeah,
that I
no, I
can't
understand
talk about design after the meeting's closed? We can't talk?
Oh, we can always talk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I heard what you said. I don't know if you heard what I said.
No, I did. I'm just
interested in doing the right
I'm in
thing.
well, it's just a we're in a conundrum. Because we're going to need, any vote's going to have to be unanimous, otherwise it fails, since we only have 4 members tonight. And I just, and I heard everything you said. I just assumed we'd continue a couple weeks. But so,
Do you want to
so
talk to the fire
forgive me.
department?
I've been doing this for 13 years, but I've never had an error on a so what?
There's also the fire department. I don't know if you want to speak with them.
I think the
they
fire
had-
department and the building inspector are gonna have to work that out for the common driveway.
I mean, they did ask for additional information there.
Right, but if the applicant asks us to close the public hearing, that trumps. So we close the public hearing, and we don't have to vote tonight, but I think we know which way the vote would go.
As a courtesy to another town board, you ought to continue. And secondly, I think it's gonna benefit the applicant because the library can waive.
And that's the building
notice.
inspector's thing.
So I could go back to the original permit and I'm all set.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Would you be willing to wait 2 weeks because we do have
It's not where they pick up the mail. Yeah. It's not I don't.
Yeah, so I was going to say, first of all, let's just say, even if we're all on the same page,
Well, if you, when's the next meeting?
if we're 2 weeks, if we're all 29th, 28th, right? If we're all on the same page, I would say, okay, let's go 2 weeks, because the plan needs to be updated. Once we close public hearing, we cannot take any further information, so you can't revise a plan. So we would have to vote it down because the fire department didn't approve it. Just for that alone, for right there.
I can tell you right now that there's not gonna be a turnaround for the fire department. There's just no room for it, but we could do some things the fire department wants.
Oh,
They're asking for the microphone.
That microphone's not picking him up, it's right there.
Well, like we could widen the driveway to 18
Well,
feet.
yeah, but
that
again,
sort of
and
thing,
and there's precedent for
Yeah.
that, and that's a conversation with the fire
But,
department.
yeah, it is. That's precedent for the fire department, and like he suggested sprinkling, but that's gonna be between the fire department and the building inspector. The hydrant's well within 500 feet of the property, of the house. So, I think it's 400 feet from the hydrant. So we abide by a lot of these bylaws already. I think the only thing the fire department could ask for is widening and a turnaround. And, I don't think the turnaround's gonna be feasible.
It might
Widening
be
is,
right it might be right where the 2 driveways come together.
yeah, maybe.
What's that, the hydrant?
But then that starts,
No, the ability
but
for the
then
truck
I would say the fire department, that
maneuver.
defeats the purpose of the whole common driveway.
It does.
Don't they have reverse gear? No, just kidding, just kidding. Oh, boy, take that one off the
Exactly.
tape, Cat.
Excuse me, what is the limit? 500 feet?
500 feet.
That's not even in a bylaw, that's just, so, can we go 2
I
weeks?
actually went to the fire department and asked them about sprinkling, and I was told, before we bought this property, that would not be necessary based on the proximity. So it's kind of funny how this is coming up now.
Well, I mean,
That's, all I'd say this is, it's not, and I understand, this is not in our bylaws. And there has been, and you know, these things change, excuse me, as personnel changes. And until very recently, we would always check in at 500 feet. Sometimes the fire department would request it, but it's not in the code, and it sometimes had to do with a hydrant. There's just in the very recent past, there's been what I would term an uptick in requests for sprinklers, which is, but it's not in our bylaws yet, so, you know.
Yeah, but the house is already permitted, so how's that? And I did actually get a clarification from them, and now it's changed all of a sudden?
I don't want to speak, but if you have so you have a foundation permit?
Yeah.
So then it's a moot point?
So this is the time to have a discussion like we have been. My thought would be, if we want to follow through with a common driveway possibly, how much time would we need to correct the abutter notification, re-advertise, or whatever we have to do to make that correct?
Right.
Because that will be,
Just continue the month and the library can waive notice.
Let's do this.
You don't have to renotice.
Let's continue this 2 weeks, right? And any conversations that need to be had by individuals in this town with the applicant, you've got 2 weeks. Doesn't mean we can't continue it again, but I want to be fair. And I'm a bit like, wow, there's a building permit. You know, we need to haste makes waste, I guess. We need to get going. This is a lot further up the road than anybody thought.
because of the,
I did.
no, there's,
And again, that would be,
there's a glitch.
if the sidewalks are just information, even if the public is allowed, that has to be by, you know, that has to be at the invitation of the property owner. But I recommend the library gets in touch with the property owner on their own. Because we go out, it's not a public hearing, it's just, you know, it's informational purposes only, to take a look, compare the plan, you know.
Okay, so there's an abutter glitch here. And if this thing gets processed and it gets approved, there's always that glitch that needs to be, that's gonna be there. And I think the process is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we have to re-advertise and then re-notify everybody properly. So we have to get, I don't think we need to get another certified list of abutters, but we have to correct that library notification. I just don't want this to go through, and when you have this opportunity to work with the client, approve it, and then have it disapproved because of a technicality. So I think what I'd like to do, because we got an incorrect list of abutters from the town, we're okay with that. We'd like to, I think it's gonna take about a month, so we can advertise, re-notify, and be under the legal time limit. Does that sound correct, Andrea?
Honestly, if you're offering to continue for a month, that's a terrific thing.
I don't want to offer it without,
But
I would only offer it because of this technicality.
I understand. I just, you know, good government. I have to tell you that if you got a certified list from the assessors, then you've met the law.
We met the letter of the law?
You met the letter of the law with a certified list of assessors, but because you got it from the assessor's office. But the truth of it is that the mail didn't get to, even though it is a certified address, it didn't get to the landowner. So
like I said, this is a technicality.
Honestly, you don't have to take the extra cost of putting out additional notifications to the abutters. But I
think in this situation it would be prudent.
Address the issue.
No, I think in this situation it would be prudent to do that, especially with all the feedback and issues. So
to all the abutters or just to the one abutter?
It would be. I think the process is re-advertise and I think the process is re-advertise and.
First time it's ever happened.
Yeah.
What if we continue as a placeholder, and then the applicant and the town can talk to the town attorney and figure out what to do about this and the library can figure out to do with
How
the
much is this
library
gonna
notification
cost?
situation.
Yeah.
Well, the cost of advertisement, that's it.
Okay.
And then they can tell the town the best, and the applicant and the library the best way to proceed with that.
Sure.
And we'll continue it as a placeholder for now, so.
Yeah, if this could be done expeditiously so that we have time, if we have to go for another 2 weeks to get all that information in, and if we have to.
The town council is in tomorrow, so I'll make sure I speak with them.
So would your plan to be continue it for 2 weeks now and then decide whether or not we have
After
to?
you have,
Yeah,
after the
okay, yeah.
conversation with you.
Are you agreeable to that? They're gonna check with the town to make sure that,
I want to make sure it's done in compliance and legally.
yeah. So, yeah,
So,
2 weeks?
so we,
We're being generous to you guys. I would appreciate it if everybody would put themselves in my shoes. I understand there's people that still don't like this, and I can feel it in the room. But I've offered you alternatives, and I think that's very generous of us. And we are permitted. We can build a house tomorrow. We could start if we want to. But I'm not looking to do that. I'm not looking to jam it down people's throats. I'm just looking to get the roadblocks out of the way and find something that's gonna work. I'll talk to the chairman about his design ideas. I'm all ears. So,
My
Yeah,
point in speaking was just, where do the children play, okay? You have children, we have children.
I got it.
Grandchildren, and we don't want this situation upset. It's been too hard
Yeah.
to get it to where it is today.
I agree, it's gorgeous.
And you sound like you might be a caretaker as well, if you could.
We have to start using
you know what, I wanna call it there. We've, all right, we're just gonna circle back, and we appreciate you, you are, especially if you have a village permit, you're being very generous. This has been a good, productive session. I think we should end it here, after a motion and a vote,
Motion
the
to
affirmative for a 2-week extension and,
Would-
continuance.
I have business cards. If anybody would like one,
Yeah.
you can call me.
Okay, so a motion to continue to the next meeting, January 28th.
Is there a second? Do we have one? Any further discussion? No, I'm trying to- All those in favor? Motion passes. Great, thanks, that's myself.
And Dave, a revision on the declaration?
That is written by the lawyer, and that will have to be done between the lawyer and the...
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, keep on moving. All right, hey, folks, we have a long night to go, so if you could just, you can stay or you can leave, but if you could do it quietly, we'd appreciate it. Okay, next up is a public hearing for 6 Ford Circle. Give him 2 minutes. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for your relevance.
I'm very involved in history.
Okay, we're walking. We're walking.
You might be hungry.
The library and the Easton House are one of the main attractions to us.
Appreciate your comments.
I was actually asked to join the board of the library in Milton, too.
Yes.
Hey, guys, we gotta keep this meeting going. If you could move it out, I'd appreciate it. We need to keep our meeting going. If you could exit, that would be appreciated. Thank you. I'm trying.
Okay, here we go. Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on January 13, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, Easton Town Offices, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, on the application from Nick Mielmanis for a special permit common driveway under Easton Code Book Chapter 235, zoning, 235-56 special permits, and 235-32 common driveways to allow the creation of a common driveway located at 5 and 6 Ford Circle, Assessors Map 10R, lots 217 and 218. A copy of the application and plan may be inspected at the Planning and Economic Development Office, 136 Elm Street, Massachusetts, during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed application and plan should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it was painful, wasn't it? All right, the floor is yours. Grab a microphone and,
Good evening. For the record, again, my name is Scott Rogers, JK Holmgren
no, we
Engineering.
can't, no, hold on, the door has to stay open. Hey, folks, can you move it up the hall, please? Acoustics are killing us. Sorry for yelling in my microphone, residents of Easton. Okay, sorry, sir. Go ahead.
That's all right. Scott Rogers, JK Holmgren Engineering, representing the applicant Harbor One Bank. So, a little history for you, a little brief history. Back in 2006, this subdivision.
Hold on. It's just the microphone. I got it. Hey guys, excuse me, but the acoustics are terrible. We can't hear, so if you please move up past the exit sign, really appreciate it. Thanks. Don't want to ask a fourth time. All right, sorry, sir.
It's okay.
Deja vu.
So back in 2006, the subdivision itself was approved by the town, obviously. There was also a residential compound special permit issued and approved back in 2006. And thirdly, a common driveway special permit was approved back in 2006. That particular permit has lapsed. So the subdivision itself, Ford Circle, was built. A certificate of occupancy was issued for the first house, and Lot 1 was built and sold.
That's Lot 1.
That's Lot 1. So before you tonight is a special permit for a common drive for lots 2 and 3, basically renewing those permits that have lapsed. Common drive itself is going to be 12 feet wide, gravel. The plan does show topography on it. I know the lines are kind of faint, but the topography is shown on the plans. We will need to add a note about the 13.5 foot of height clearance. The actual gravel drive is 3 inches of bluestone on top of a 6-inch gravel base. There are no changes proposed to the drainage patterns on the site. The site's relatively flat, so things will fit in pretty nicely. There is a utility and access easement that is proposed throughout here, and it is actually, does have meets and bounds on it. I know they kind of get lost in some of the line work on the plan, but those meets and bounds are on there as well. And there was a homeowners trust that was implemented, and you got a big package of information that's actually in Appendix G. So there's a homeowners trust that was set up for that. So at some point, the trust will assume the maintenance of that roadway, driveway. Like I said, the roadway was built 10 to 12 feet wide of pavement with cobbles, which gets you to that 20-foot wide of width. And then there was a condition that was applied about maintenance, which talks about monthly maintenance, which is extraordinary and beyond what normally would happen for any kind of a development, really. So perhaps if we talk about maintenance of that roadway, perhaps once a year would be something we should consider as being more appropriate for the maintenance of that new road. And then lastly, there will be a new lamp post, a new light post that will be placed at the intersection of the two driveways split off. So that's kind of a brief presentation for you, but I'd be willing to answer any questions anyone may have.
Okay. Andrea, did you want to say anything?
Oh, this one was a big, a nice one to start my tenure on.
Easy peasy, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll have to show me afterwards the meets and bounds on the easement area. The drainage, the issues here, the last, at 418 Depot, they said we're not going to make any changes. We don't need to do any drainage. I think there was conversations, Scott, I had with you earlier about perhaps there being drainage along the common drive. This is an area of critical environmental concern. It's the Canoe River aquifer. It's also the Aquifer Protection District. There's only there's only 12 ACECs in the entire state. You guys may not realize that, 50% of your town is an ACEC, and that's incredibly unusual. But it's a water quality concern is a very significant issue in the Canoe River ACEC. So drainage along the common drive is very much appreciated. And he spoke to the fire department. Lamp posts, Greg, I don't want to find out later that there's a detail you wanted. So if there's a detail, deal with it. And I do believe that maintenance, there should be some kind of maintenance plan, and monthly, it's a wonderful time to change that, to bring it back to an annual. But I would like to know the existing conditions, because I was out there a few months ago for the Conservation Commission, and it really looked like a driveway to me. Supposedly it has pavers on the side, but I don't know if the existing Ford Circle is actually a traveled way that is wider than 12 feet. That was part of that's part of the residential compound. The former planning board did sign off on it in 2008 as being satisfactory completed. But they also said that it didn't meet the road design standards, and that's why it'll be a private way for a long time. So it's been more than 15 years, close to 20, and it needs some maintenance. And I suspect it needs some maintenance if an engineer went out there and inspected it. I'm not sure that it's a 20-foot drive away. So I actually recommended that you get that first maintenance report, because I've seen none. You get that first maintenance report now and see if the existing road needs to be maintained. That was a requirement of the subdivision.
Yeah, I mean, it should at least be, now that they want to have an application, it should just be brought up to a standard that's fit anyways, but
Well, you
then
guys
obviously
decide. You guys
maintained
decide.
going
I can
forward,
tell you
right,
now.
yeah. Yeah, it's almost, whatever, if they did or they didn't, it's almost more important that they get this road up to shape for whatever they're proposing, or that we might require, I suppose, and then, yeah.
It's the actual Ford Circle.
Yeah,
I'm
no, I
speaking to.
understand, right, yeah, no, I get you, so.
So how wide is existing Ford Circle now, the paved part?
So it's 10 to 12 feet wide pavement.
10 to 12?
Yeah, 10 to 12, and then there's another 4 to 5 feet of riprap cobbles on the side. So it's a wide area of access. It's not all paved.
Right.
And just for, just to, not to repeat myself, but we're not here to talk about, well, we can talk about Ford Circle, of course, but that's an approved road. That's, to me, that's history now.
Well, it wasn't built to it.
Wasn't built to with approval, though.
But the planning board back in 2008 said it was. She just told you that. I mean, right?
So what's the document that says that?
That was the subdivision approval. It's the same one that says give us monthly maintenance reports.
Which we have
Even
now.
at the
But
time,
here-
monthly maintenance reports must have been silly, but they were expecting something to break down.
But here's the thing, is it inconceivable, I was on the board in '08, but the original detail had pavers. There's no pavers there now.
I don't think they were pavers, but they were like.
But that's what's in the plan.
They were cobbles.
Right, but they're not out there now. So is it conceivable that they were there in '08 and the board signed off, and then, whoever maintained the road said, this is a pain in the butt every time we pave, every time we plow, and maybe they disappeared. So my concern is that that's acting like a road, not a common drive, and it's not, in current state, is not what was approved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you try to build the road as on the plan. I'm just saying we have to get it to a state where it's in a good shape to serve additional lots. I mean, and, for the safety and otherwise.
But I don't think it's out of the question to bring it to where it needed to be.
No, it wouldn't be.
I mean, it was approved as a certain width. Why
right, yeah. Oh.
pavement and pavers, I have no idea. But
The other potential issue is, that's a different owner, right? I mean, that owner is come and gone now. This is an owner that inherited these two pieces of property from the owner that went bankrupt. So Harbor One Bank owns this property because it was default on a loan.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But somebody will own the private road, right? The private way.
I assume so.
And I assume the homeowner's covenant, it covers successors indeed.
Oh, yeah, I would think so. It should.
I mean, I was just thinking, because we were talking about the ACUC, and, you know, we'd have to kind of look at those without going too involved, if, you know, this kind of the entryway to the Ford Circle. They just make sure
What
it's,
say
you know,
you?
functioning, you
Awful
know,
quiet tonight.
am I? Properly in general.
Can I just make another just a fact thing for you? So originally, we had proposed 2 separate driveways. Kind of sounds like the project you just heard before for 3 hours. We did have 2 separate driveways on this, and it would need to come back to the common drive special permit. But because we went to conservation first, and they requested that we combine the driveways into a common drive.
Well, you need actual frontage too. You can't we don't really, usually frontage just on a, you know, on a paper road plan doesn't actually serve as frontage necessarily for a lot, right?
No, but there's frontage of 2 lots there, but, right, no, I saw that plan with the 2, but, right, that's silly. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, just from, but let me ask you, so who owns the road?
It's a private road, so it'd be owned by the.
The bank still owns it? Oh, the bank owns it now?
Well,
Harbor One?
Don't forget, Lot 1 was sold out by somebody else, so.
Right, but the road is not part of Lot 1.
But
Right.
I guess I would say that the road is owned by all the owners in the area.
Right.
So
Is there a homeowners association?
there is, yeah.
Okay. So, but the fact that the bank doesn't have a relationship with who owns Lot 1 shouldn't preclude us from bringing the road up to standard.
Yeah, they're the owner. If you own it, you own it.
You know, I mean, it wasn't, you know, I mean, it wasn't us who let the permit lapse, and it's not a public road. So I think that's, I mean, I think common driveway, okay, that's the easy part, but what are we doing with the existing road? And what did the fire department say? Do we have anything from them on the
Yeah.
existing road part?
Fire department, they actually didn't speak to the existing road
We have
part.
to figure out the
I don't-
width.
you-
and-
They may not know where they are,
The
though.
width and the paved question, you know, it seems like they wanted things paved and then.
Because if I recall, the original, it was 20 feet was the original proposed width with the plan that had, was it an existing driveway and then they must have put the pavers around it? That must have been what that was about.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, right, there was a plan that
Yes.
showed pavement and then sort of pavers
Okay.
going on, and are you looking, and it was
No, I
20
don't
feet
have it.
wide, right, if I recall?
Is that on the old?
So why doesn't the bank just pave the road 20 feet wide?
Oh, I see.
Because that's what we've done on similar resi compounds and, you know, I mean, that would get it up to a better standard, I mean, a better design, in my opinion. Pavers are silly, that's just a nightmare for whoever lives there.
If they were given a loan on it, they'd probably want.
I mean, we're only talking 8 feet of pavement.
This is the current, this is the approved residential compound. I think you understand that, I know you guys are smarter than me, that the residential compound, the common drive, and the other special permit all happened at the same time, and one speaks to the other. But here's what was approved with that time. Do you see the white going up the front? That's the bituminous driveway that goes right to one.
Yeah, there's the plan.
And then there's the pavers. Now that I'm
Is that under this file or somewhere else on the system?
That should be our new road detail.
Yeah, let's go with that.
In a second.
Looks like some jut out more than, it's not even a straight line with the pavers, is it? Looks like some jut out. Maybe not.
Just grab a microphone and identify yourself, please. For the record.
So I'm Ramakrishna Perumarthy and I live on 115 Highland.
Okay.
I'm the owner of that lot 1.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yay.
Welcome.
It's kind of an interesting conversation. I didn't know so many details that you guys were talking about. But when I bought this property in 2008, the earlier owner, Richard Fedorov, who is now bankrupt, he was mentioning about this paving and the driveway. The current driveway is not kind of a true road as such.
Right.
It's very, very undone. And all those pavers, like you said, there are cobblestones, which we were told that they will be finished once he completes the houses in the back, the lots, both the lots. And he was talking about all this, the one I'm seeing with the pavers and all here, which are non-existing now, but they will be developed in the future when he ends up selling and building houses in the lots behind. So my question was, we have a driveway which we currently use. It's very, I think, probably 8 feet, 9 feet, not more than that. But will that be included in this development that we are discussing here for the, which will be a common driveway for the lots behind my current home?
It's what we're trying to figure out.
Right,
This,
yeah.
you know, this is a really unique situation.
Right.
Personally, it seems to me if we're going to, I know there was two, the common driveway was approved originally, but it,
No,
I
no,
mean,
one,
the
no, one
lots were
common
approved
drive.
originally, right.
One common drive approved.
Well, right, right. So it wasn't acted on, so now it's not valid. So it seems if we're going to build a common driveway, and especially if the original plan, they were willing to do two driveways, which is foolish, but, so am I wrong in saying, why don't we just pave, why don't we just have them pave the original width of 20 feet? Bring that road up to what it was supposed to be.
Right.
But not with pavers, I mean, that's a silly design.
I don't think the drainage can work without the pavement, but,
With-
I mean, when you
did
get
say
out there.
without the pavement? Or
I
with-
think honestly, I know that I'm the environmental planner when I'm not the acting planning director.
Uh-huh.
But gravel doesn't work well.
Oh, right,
For
right.
stormwater.
No. No, but so you're saying but my proposal will trip the stormwater, it won't work?
No, I think it actually would help the storm.
Oh, right, because gravel, just like pervious pavement, if it's not vacuumed,
Right.
it's impervious.
Right.
And when's the last time you saw a
I
vacuum
mean,
truck in Easton?
Can I make a suggestion for perhaps a compromise?
Sure.
That we widen the pavement on the right-hand side of the existing driveway another 3 feet to get additional width out of it.
Okay, and why where you come up with 3 feet?
Just, we'd have 15 feet at that point, which is,
Yeah, my only
I think we have to.
My only concern is, would that work? Let's see, here's where it gets tricky. Would that work with the fire department? But yeah, I mean,
Well, we
our
just
bylaw
talked about-
calls for 12 feet.
Not the roadway. The
No,
roadway
right,
was
right.
20.
Oh, yeah.
The road was
on-
20.
So on the old plan, what's the
This is the old
what's
plan.
the
Can you see it?
stormwater? Is there any stormwater
There's
management at all?
there's a small infiltration trench.
Yeah,
That is detailed on the second
That's
page.
on the
I
right?
just didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why not just,
Oh, along the left.
why
there.
not just pave the whole thing?
well, Andrea brings up a good point. That road was never designed drainage-wise to handle 20 feet of pavement, so you'd be ripping up everything that's there now. I mean,
So that trench, so the drainage trench is not running along the left. Is that woods or is that just sort of a?
the drainage trench is installed, but it's
Okay.
designed to handle 12 feet of pavement and 10 extra feet of.
You're giving that engineer a lot of credit.
Oh. Well, it was approved as that, right?
It was approved by the planning board. There's a lot was sold. I mean, a lot of things have happened in the history of this thing since 2006 that, you know.
Right, but here's the thing. It wasn't built, it wasn't completed, so we're back to ground, not quite to zero, because this young man has a house there, this gentleman has a house there. Everybody's young to me at this point, so, you know. But I mean, if we were proposing this new, you know, this little stub road and then a common driveway off it, we would still want 20 feet of pavement. Right?
I mean, honestly, they were all intermingled. The residential the
No, right,
completed
no, but I'm
subdivision
saying-
didn't happen without the residential compound,
Yeah, they all sort
which
of happened
didn't
at the same
happen
time.
without the common drive. So when one fell off,
Right.
maybe a good lawyer could make an argument that all three of them get opened.
Yeah, but I'm
I
just-
agree with Greg. I think we're back at square one in many respects.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, the original design, here's my thought, I'd like to see the 20-foot width paved.
I'm just curious about the mechanism. So this is a condo association?
Homeowners Association.
So my question, I'm not part of that home association, right? That's planned.
You should be.
Well, that was
I
gonna be my
was never
question.
told about this. I was never told about this.
Right.
If it's not on your deed.
It would be attached to your property under the registry of deeds, something.
Right, and I just, there's,
Check your deed,
Let's make sure it got,
just so
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Go ahead, Rob, sorry.
well, we're now imposing something on this guy who just came because he got a notice. Because the costs are gonna be shared. I'm just sensitive to
Right, well,
that.
but not if he wasn't notified of a homeowners association, right?
Well, we saved him
Well-
11 years of maintenance reports by professional engineers.
No, I mean, your point's
I
taken,
understand.
but But,
I mean, he's being told by this guy that it's all gonna be done. The
Because
developer
town-
was gonna do it.
The town didn't keep up with the developer's work, and then he's
Well,
on the
no,
hook
this
for
is a
certain-
problem that we've kind of seen here.
but
No,
our
right, yeah.
applicant is the bank, right, is Harbor One. My assumption is, because it's not this gentleman who wants to develop these two lots, it's Harbor One. So Harbor One would, being the applicant, they would bear the responsibility of bringing that road up to.
Just to clarify
Got
what you
shared
said,
responsibility.
Harbor One is not in the development business for this. They inherited this property. His developer, or who he bought, went bankrupt. So they were foreclosed on. So the bank got this property. They don't want
They
it.
could donate it to Easton for open space.
Sure they could.
They can just take it right off.
Or they can donate to me.
There's a lot of things.
Then he'll probably will build the cul-de-sac, right, yeah.
Well, so what do you, I mean, you're.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just sensitive to rewriting history here.
Yeah, which I'm not
We're
trying to
punishing
do.
we could essentially be punishing somebody, you know, who doesn't deserve that punishment. I mean, really, it's the original developer that didn't abide by his agreement. Now we're kind of picking up the pieces here with two people that really didn't bargain for this.
Well, yeah, the bank is a kind of an entity that had an agreement
Part
with
of
the
it.
developer,
I
right?
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I'm
that's-
sure
that's
they knew what
that's
they
their
were
business.
getting
If they know what
into.
they're doing,
Yep.
great. If they don't, then they should probably, look at
But-
the policies, right?
And
It was a construction loan, they should have been out there on a regular basis looking at it. No, I agree, I agree, but here's the point. It's not just gonna be the bank that bears the brunt of this, I suspect,
No, yeah, we should
if
look
it's a
into that.
typical homeowners association.
But what if, let's say, and I understand why you said it, but let's say, because this gentleman went out of business, and let's say the homeowners association was never formed. Or and he would have to have been, wouldn't have had to follow the deed, like when he purchased?
Just to clarify that, because at that point of time when I was purchasing, he was mentioning about these three as a Ford Circle, and to which I didn't take, otherwise my address would have been 2 Ford Circle. I just retained 115 Highland Street. We never bought.
Problem is, we just don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know how, like, if it, say a project goes into, foreclosure on the project level, does the successor have any obligation to fulfill anything, or is it just, kind of, and a fresh start, it's not a fresh start for everybody, right? There is some sort of procedure where where the successor still has to fulfill the obligations of the plan, right? If they're
So
taking
is step
over
one,
the developer's obligations.
I mean, I would wanna know more about
Yeah.
the deed?
the deed
I think that's what I-
and the homeowners association here.
Yep.
Yeah, the homeowners association is listed in, there's, Walter Marioni put together a 5-page letter with 23 pages of, or more, of.
Could I take a look at that?
Yes, it has the subdivision, it has the homeowners association, it has the residential compound. They all do speak to each other. And I do think it's fair to say that in 2008, the planning board signed off on it, but they also had this confidence that they were going to get maintenance addressed on a regular basis.
So, again, I keep trying to go to the, regardless of where the deed's at, in terms of a homeowners association, if the bank, whoever the applicant is trying to get these two lots freed up,
Gotta bring
and
the
they were
neighbors.
originally gonna pave 2 driveways that were super long, well, if they just do, it would be substantially less paving to just bring that road up to 20 feet, where it was originally approved, and then they do their common driveway.
Again, it wasn't approved for 20 feet of pavement. It was.
Well,
you know,
pavement and pavement and pavers, right.
So I'd go back to my original offer to widen it to the 3 feet as.
And I reject that offer. So, because we have to go to 20 feet for a road. We don't have we can't just suddenly waive the width of a road because someone went out of business.
You take a look and see what condition those pavers are in. Honestly, I didn't even notice them. So I was kind of scared to bring my car up there. So, if you want 20 feet, there has to be 20 feet. There has to be 20 feet. It's either paved or,
I mean,
it works.
I don't think we've ever done.
But let's, like
a
Robert
road.
said, let's make sure that we have to kind of at least look out for, you know.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, if they're not willing to do that, then, then
Yeah,
I don't know what
right.
the solution is.
Mhm.
Then, because then I'd say we have to get town council involved, because I'm trying to give an easy solution, but I'm meeting it with resistance, and I'm certainly not trying to open a legal can,
Yeah,
but
no, I get you.
we can't, it's not our responsibility to finish a private road that wasn't finished. But we certainly can't permit a common driveway off a road that isn't built to the standard.
Yeah, so I mean,
Was it
trust was
approved?
definitely, I mean, there's a book and page number on this. The trust was recorded. So there is.
So the
all of
association?
this. The trust exists.
And Lot 1 is part of it.
I'm assuming, given that it
Yeah.
was
There
part
was a
of
three-lot
this
subdivision.
subdivision, that's the case.
Is there a bank account?
That's what we gotta find.
Right,
Yeah,
that's
this
what
is
secret
the first time
escrow
I'm
account.
Kind of hearing that I'm part of the home association.
We're not sure yet, but that's the
So
feeling.
why don't I'm actually, and I actually have breakfast scheduled with Attorney Marioni in a couple days. So maybe we should continue this couple weeks, so we can find out we can chase down the deed, if we still need to do that.
He's got all the
We can
stuff
talk to
in
your,
there.
we can, I mean, I don't think we're gonna be able to figure this out right now.
No, I'm gonna need
Yeah.
to spend a little bit more time on this one.
If you want to take
That's why you
that,
make the big
we can
ones.
make another copy. You got a long
You-
train ride.
I
Yeah,
can
we have
keep
another,
this?
we can make another copy.
That'd be
Where
great.
does, I just have a quick question. Where does lot 3's frontage? Oh, it goes all the way down,
Way
down to the road.
down.
Way down to the road on the bottom.
Call that
Yeah, I
Benny
get it.
appeal frontage.
Yeah. That's a nice extra way. Build a driveway there
Yeah.
if you really wanted to, right?
Maybe a couple more houses?
There's a wetland there.
Okay.
Hey, who knows, maybe it's already permitted for a house.
Yeah.
Like, we could have opened the meeting with that.
Yeah.
All right, so continue on a couple weeks, does that give us
Yeah,
enough time?
that's fine.
You okay with that? I mean,
Absolutely,
just
yeah. Yep.
Doing our best there, but it's
Yep.
kind of a little unusual.
I'll move to continue this hearing to the next meeting on January 28th.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Motion passes. So January 28th.
28th?
Yeah. All right, so for the next thing, next up is a public hearing for 411 Potter Street. I have to recuse myself.
Thank you.
But I would just say this, where it's a special permit, and I did inform the applicant of this, that you guys won't be able to vote, because we need a quorum.
Yeah? Oh, okay, right, yeah.
So, anyways, but.
All right, thanks.
So we can take a peek at
I'll
it.
see if there noisy crowds left the building yet.
Okay, just move along, I'll read this. Town of Easton notice of public hearing.
Should put you on the
In accordance with the provisions of chapter 41, section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on January 13th, 2020 at 6:30 PM in the Colleen Corona Room, Easton Town Offices, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, on the application from Lorraine Moratori, Pyres, for a special permit in-law apartment under Easton Town Code, chapter 235, zoning, section 235-44, in-law apartments, to allow the creation of an in-law apartment located at 411 Foundry Street, Assessors Map 15R, Lot 39. A copy of the application and plan may be inspected at the Planning and Economic Development Office, 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed application and plan should appear at the time and place designated for the public hearing. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Welcome, if you'd like to introduce yourself and talk about your proposal.
Introduce yourself.
Hi. Let's see, why am I here now? Yeah, just looking to put on an addition for my mom to move in. She turned 80 in May, and it's time somebody helped her out for a change, because she's always helping everybody else out. And that's why I'm here, to give her a sense of her own independence, so she'll still have her own area, if you will. And yet, I'll feel a lot better having her right there with me. And that's why I'm here.
Definitely.
So we have to look at the dimensions to see if it's, well, it's obviously under.
Does meet the, it is less, it's more than 25% of the existing habitable area, but it is less than 900. And on the plan view, it is just to the side, a little bit off-center to the existing house with a garage below. It meets the dimensional requirements. You just, I guess there's some subjectivity about the way it looks next to a raised ranch.
Christopher or Robert, do you have any ideas? Are you looking for the bylaw first?
Find my,
It's 40.
I can't find the comments.
So-
I can't find the comments for 411.
No, if it meets the dimensional
Yeah,
requirements.
so it's 235-44 if you want to look at it in your book quickly.
So you have a stair off the back of the house, or off the back of the in-law apartment as well?
Yes.
And I suppose the plan here would be to,
That'd be the two means of agreement.
to review this and then continue so that, until they're before?
Right, right.
Because we can't approve it with 3?
Right.
And then it's one of the other board members would watch this on TV and then sign off on the sheet, which allows them to participate
Okay.
in the meeting so long as they do not miss any more of the public hearings on
Okay.
this. Does that make sense?
I appreciate
A little bit?
that.
Yeah, okay. But we're doing our best to keep on moving right now, and then,
Yeah, I did write comments, I just don't see them.
yeah.
There were, all the boards had no comments, including the fire department.
What are the thoughts here on the aesthetics? It's generally not my area.
I would say that it would fit in with the aesthetics of the raised ranch. If not, maybe nicer than the raised ranch, so.
Peter, you agree with that?
Yeah, I was just taking my computer was loading the elevations, so.
Do you have the site plan that you can pull up there again?
Yep.
I was just curious at the driveway. How are you gonna modify the driveway, I guess? That's the only thing that's not shown on the plan.
Straight in.
Oh, okay. So would that be,
Off of Route 6, off of Route 106?
106.
Or are
would that
you
be
going
putting in a new
to,
driveway, or would you just
No.
be,
Clipping part of that circular.
Because I have a circular already.
gotcha, so you just kind of like swerve, like S,
Right.
turn more or less in? That would be the only thing that I don't see on the plan. Other than that, I think everything looks great.
Yeah, looks all right to me. In that case, we can't make a decision, and we probably shouldn't close the public hearing in case a missing board member wants to accept
Correct.
any more new information.
That's a question, yeah. No, I agree, I agree.
So,
Are you all right if we move to continue then? We have no choice. No, you don't. Unfortunately, you don't.
No, just tell me yes.
Only if you promise to put us on the agenda first.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, please, please.
The next meeting's
We
gonna
can
be a lot.
accommodate, we can accommodate that.
I just came right from,
I think we can
I came
accommodate
right
that.
from work for this.
Yeah.
Oh my
It'll be very
God.
biblical. First will be last, and last will be
Right.
I think we can accommodate you on that.
we'll have to
No
remind-
laughing over there.
but-
Peter, will you entertain a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, motion to continue the next hearing on the January 28th.
28th,
Second?
okay.
I'll second.
All in favor?
All right.
at 6:30?
Motion passes to
6:30,
continue
you
to the
get
next
it.
meeting.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Hopefully,
And you're all-
the first agenda item. No promises. You're welcome, thanks, have a good night. Thanks for waiting around.
My report
was-
wasn't in here.
Because we don't want them to do that first.
Not easy,
All I just don't want to hear
not
on
easy.
on the driveway.
I know, right?
Ever again.
Okay. Meeting minutes.
All right,
Oh, we have a,
Greg, welcome back.
We have quite the meeting minutes.
man,
Did you miss me?
I never thought there was a chance where I
No.
might actually be late for my hockey game tonight.
We almost, yeah, it almost felt like you were in the room while we were going over those plans for some reason, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right. Oh, so 58 Mill Street, we just have to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearings to February 18th for 58 Mill Street and 5 Owl Ridge Road.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. All right, meeting minutes. Scratch, scratch.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 7th. And let me just,
You have to do them separately.
okay.
Yeah, January 7th, we can do that first. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. December 9th?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 9th.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. I get a little batty after 3 hours.
We missed the Jeopardy, whatever that
All right,
show
let's
is.
do
Hall of
variance.
Fame.
1920, 78 Washington Street.
Oh, yes. This is the pool place at the corner of,
That lost their parking lot
the corner of Union and,
Oh, yeah.
in Washington.
Washington.
Oh, so their parking lot was on the road.
And they're losing
the road, you
their, I don't have, where's 78?
Oh, I mean, oh, yeah.
To when the road, when they.
Oh, here, the ZBA comments. Okay,
Is that in here?
Washington.
so,
At the end?
here we go.
Separated
But I
by
have a better
floors of-
plan for you.
You have a what plan?
A better plan. There you go.
Oh, great.
Right?
Oh.
You recognize this place?
Where's?
Corner of Union in Washington?
Doesn't look like that anymore, though.
You see that, you see the plan, the existing pool sign
Here we go.
is between the green that's gone and the white new lot sign. They want to put it where the shadow of the existing sign.
So closer than 15 feet, that's the variance.
6 feet, 6
6
feet. 6 feet.
Because it's pretty much, I mean, they lost a lot of parking. They don't really have a choice, I imagine, right?
Did they lose a lot of parking?
Oh,
Because it looks
yeah.
to me like they lost one
So we-
space.
No, well, no, I mean, just in parking
Innovation,
lot. They didn't lose
their
spaces.
property.
Just,
It got shorter, right.
Looks like the
So
road-
here's another
rotation.
copy of the
That
plan.
was because of
The
the road?
difference between the pink line is where the lot used to be.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the
see that?
taking is kind of a green line, little peachy.
yeah, that's like
So
25 feet on
The
that.
blue sign, yeah, right at the corner, it's really
So
significant.
pink is where they want to be?
Pink is where they want to be, blue is where they are, can't be.
Okay.
But that entire gray area to the north is not parking.
Right, it's a landscaped island there.
It's concrete.
Okay, so, I mean, the only real consideration would be if it's because like a safety problem with the, sight distance or anything, but the light's going to be, I mean, the,
But based on the radius, the layout, I would think
Signalized,
it's
right.
not, right? I mean,
no, I was just trying, yeah, that's all I was.
Do we have to make sure they have a nice sign as well?
well, this is just for.
I
this
think
is
it's the
for that.
existing
The
sign.
relocation.
Yeah, they're just moving it. So our options are we can vote to recommend, we can vote to not recommend, or
There's
we
the
can
existing
take
sign.
no action.
It's
Yeah, it's existing.
How did
There's-
they
there's a sign.
take that property? Was it through
Eminent domain.
Eminent,
Yeah,
yeah,
public
state of
easement, or did
Massachusetts.
they actually take the property?
No,
and-
take property, 'cause
They
they-
took it in fee?
Yeah, yeah, all the way up.
They're
I'd
putting in
vote
a
to
right
approve
turn
it.
only lane and and a light,
Yeah.
the state.
Yeah, taking a bunch, I mean, that goes all the way up to the
Roaches.
dog kennels, up to home away from home where I go. That's a long, the one took a lot of land.
I'd vote to approve it then.
Yeah.
Request.
Would you like to put that in motion for?
Yeah, motion to approve the request for variance.
You don't want to modify the location?
No, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine.
I get it, they're trying to keep it a little bit in the visual, and look, it's not gonna, it's up high, so I think it's fine.
Yep.
And that
Rob,
works,
sorry.
works for me.
Yeah, just with the change that we're recommending that the Board of Appeals.
So is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Masses, all right. Chair's report. So, in 5 quarters, so we had a long night, so maybe next time we'll dig it, but I thought it was a really good meeting the other day.
Yeah, that was great.
Right? It was a great meeting, I thought.
We have a really good summary of the meeting, one page.
Yeah, we also had that summary,
Look
and
at.
Andrea nailed it. And then, and I reached out to a couple members of the neighborhood. I'm trying to think what the group was called.
Oh, furnace.
Yeah.
Maybe we can keep the binders.
I'm
Or we can-
having lunch with
They need to
Connor
keep them,
Wednesday.
but we can take the pages if we want them.
So Dale and I told them, you know, in our next meeting, I'm gonna have a coffee with them the next couple of days. And then we're seeing Neil. Connor and I are gonna see Neil. Just to, yeah, I'll get that, so I'll have them all, you know, just gonna
Binders are
tell them,
great.
give them a brief summary where we're at. I'm gonna show them Andrea's summary, and I'm gonna say, come on up, come to the meeting. if
On the
you
28th?
and get the ball rolling there. They were very interested in that. And that's that. We had it's a busy night. Thank you all. Andrea, thank you for, I love the binder. I'm gonna get spoiled.
Very nice.
That's Keith.
Okay, when we interview candidates, we have interviews coming up in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna say, show me your binder skills. Who wants to bring us home?
Oh, yes, no, but the key is the
Second.
binders stay here.
Yeah, all right.
Anything you want, you take out,
Yep.
but we keep the binders.
Second, all those in favor? The motion passes.
1-2.
Chris seconded, I think.
Quickly.
All right, thank you, Easton. Thank you, ECAT.